Chapter 1987. What is this? Why is it so powerful? The demon god's son turned around and looked at the leftover material of the thunderbolt pool in Ningyu's hand. Although the demon god's son had yet to become a sky immortal, he was still very confident in his body strength. Even a flying sword at the peak of the sage level might not be able to cause such great damage to him. One had to know that he had transferred the power of the great Tao from his body to his back at the critical moment. Even so, his back still caved in, and his aura dropped by more than 30%. Just think about it. If he hadn't transferred the power of the great path to his back at the most dangerous moment, it was very likely that he would have died by now. Therefore, the demon godson believed that the palm-sized object in Ningyu's hand was at least a pseudo-heavenly treasure, even if it wasn't a heavenly treasure. So noisy, Ningyu glanced at the demonic godson, then stomped on the ground and rushed towards the lightning pool in midair. But the moment he dashed out, Ningyu's voice was heard in the area. "Zhao Rui, I'll leave the demon god's son to you for now." Ningyu didn't have time to kill the demon god's son, because he had to enter the thunderbolt pool and use the thunderbolt liquid to cleanse his body. If he was late, the thunderbolt pool in the air might even disappear. It took him a lot of effort to pass the earth-level deity tribulation. If the thunderbolt pool disappeared before he went through the cleansing, Ningyu would probably regret it for the rest of his life. "Don't worry." Zhao Rui didn't say much. She rushed towards the demon god's son with two pseudo-heavenly treasures in her hands. Before this, Zhao Rui's strength was on par with the demon god's son. But now, the demon god's son's strength had dropped by 30%, and it was difficult for him to fight against Zhao Rui. Retreat. Therefore, the demon god's son decided to retreat. As the saying went, where there's life, there's hope. He didn't want to stay here and be killed. Plop. After handing the demon god's son to Zhao Rui, Ningyu jumped into the thunderbolt pool. The dark golden lightning tribulation liquid around him rushed into Ningyu's body. As expected of the tribulation, lightning liquid of the earthly immortal tribulation. Ningyu's face lit up as he sensed the terrifying energy contained within the tribulation lightning liquid. Compared to the thunder tribulation liquid that appeared during his human immortal tribulation, this thunder tribulation liquid was much more powerful. It was on a completely different level. Bang! Ningyu had not absorbed much of the lightning tribulation liquid when a muffled sound came from within his body. Following this, a terrifying aura burst out from his body and soared into the sky. Mid-Earth immortal stage. Ningyu was shocked. In the entire lightning pool, he had only absorbed 1% of the lightning tribulation liquid, maybe even less. With such a small amount of lightning tribulation liquid, he advanced from the earthly immortal elementary stage to the earthly immortal intermediate stage. It was obvious to what extent his strength would increase to once he completely absorbed all the heavenly tribulation liquid within the lightning pool. Late Earth immortal stage? The peak of Earth immortal? A peak half-step heavenly immortal? Continue absorbing. Ningyu did not think too much. He activated the spiritual transformation art to the extreme and began to absorb the lightning tribulation liquid crazily. Ningyu could feel that every time he absorbed a bit of the lightning tribulation liquid into his body, his strength would increase by a bit. Bang! Not long after, another muffled sound came from within Ningyu's body. Late stage Earth immortal. 3 minutes later, another muffled sound came from within his body. Peak Earth immortal. In just a few minutes, Ningyu's cultivation had increased from the early stage Earth immortal to the peak Earth immortal. Even compared with Zhao Rui before, Ningyu's cultivation speed was not inferior to hers. Absorb. After his cultivation had increased to the peak Earth immortal, Ningyu was not satisfied. Instead, he increased the speed at which he absorbed the lightning tribulation liquid. A peak Earth immortal might seem powerful, but compared to the peerless divine princes of some terrifying forces, they were far from it. Be it the ancient demon sex ancient god, the heaven secret sex Wuji divine prince, or the destruction divine prince. All of them were peak half-step heaven immortals. Ningyu had only reached the peak Earth immortal level. There are still a few small levels between him and the peak half-step heaven immortal level. Ningyu did not expect to become a heaven immortal immediately. He did not have the ability to do so. All he wanted was to increase his cultivation to the peak half-step heaven immortal level and be on the same level as the peerless divine princes of the major forces. Drip, drip. As time passed, Ningyu's cultivation was also increasing steadily. On the other hand, the battle between Zhao Ruwei and the demon god had reached its climax. Zhao Ruwei had even lost one of the two pseudo-heavenly treasures that she had taken from divine princes He and Wu. The remaining pseudo-heavenly treasure in her hand was also badly damaged by the demon god. Wait, it seems like someone is interfering. The human demon looked at the battle between Zhao Ruwei and the demon god in the air with a serious face. After the demon god's strength had decreased, there was no reason for him to suppress Zhao Ruwei. There was only one explanation for this situation. Someone in the void was helping the demon god. Only in this way could the demonic son gain the upper hand time and time again, and even have the tendency to kill Zhao Ruwei. No, I have to inform Ningyu. The human demon hurriedly sent a soul message to Ningyu, who was in the thunderbolt pool. Zhao Ruwei is in danger. Since he did not know if Ningyu had completed the baptism of the heavenly tribulation fluid, the human demon only told him that Zhao Ruwei was in danger. Whoosh! The human demon's anxious voice reached his ears. Ningyu suddenly stood up from the thunderbolt pool and looked at the other side of the battlefield. Courting death. This glance made Ningyu's face turn completely gloomy. The human demon might have only known that there was a martial artist in the void helping the demon god, but Ningyu saw it clearly. There were a total of 2 martial artists in the void. Both of them were at the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm. Of course, they both had the power of great Tao. One of them was a young martial artist with a folding fan. He should have the power of 6 great Tao. The other martial artist with a pale face should have the power of 5 great Tao. Ningyu did not care so much. He took out a few jade bottles from his storage ring and stored all the remaining heavenly tribulation fluid in the thunderbolt pool. Then, he rushed out with the red demon sword in hand. Ningyu did not care who they were. They dared to help the demon god, which meant they were his enemies. Ningyu had always been ruthless to his enemies. If Ningyu was still at the perfected human immortal, he might have felt troubled. But after devouring so much heavenly tribulation fluid, his cultivation had risen from the perfected human immortal to peak half-step sky immortal. In addition, he had the power of 6 great Tao, the leftover materials from the thunderbolt pool, and the red demon sword. His current strength was close to that of a martial artist with 8 great Tao. Crack! As soon as Ningyu made his move, the last pseudo-heavenly treasure in Zhao Ruwei's hand was smashed by the demon god gourd. Moreover, the demon god gourd did not stop attacking. It smashed towards Zhao Ruwei's head. Chapter 1988. Ha, you're still alive this time? Seeing the demon god gourd charging at Zhao Ruwei, the demon god's son couldn't help but laugh. At first, the demon god's son only wanted to capture Zhao Ruwei alive and bring her to the Myriad Demon Ridge to break the seal at the entrance. However, as the battle progressed, the demon god's son changed his mind. He wanted to kill Zhao Ruwei because that was the only way he could vent the hatred in his heart. It's too early to celebrate. However, before the demon god gourd could reach Zhao Ruwei, a cold voice rang in the demon god's son's ears. Ningyu! Hearing this, the demon god's son's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly shifted his gaze. How is this possible? Sensing the powerful aura emanating from Ningyu, the demon god's son's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. A peak half-step heaven immortal. At this time, no matter how stupid the demon god's son was, he could tell that Ningyu's cultivation had reached the peak half-step heaven immortal realm. Moreover, after the baptism of the heavenly tribulation fluid, Ningyu's combat power had reached an extremely terrifying level. Nothing is impossible. Ningyu didn't care how shocked the demon god's son was. He increased his speed to the extreme and appeared in front of Zhao Ruwei in the blink of an eye. The red demon sword in his hand slashed through the air and landed on the demon god gourd. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. Then, the demon god gourd was sent flying by the red demon's sword and fell heavily to the ground. Buzz! The two martial artists in the void saw how easily Ning Yu repelled the demon god gourd. Without a word, they hurriedly tore the void and tried to escape. The reason why they attacked was because they had received benefits from the demon god sun. However, even though the demon god sun had given them many benefits, they still chose to escape at the moment of life and death. After all, with Ning Yu's current strength, they would only die if they stayed. Where are you going? Seeing the two martial artists escaping in the void, Zhao Rui shouted and rushed out before Ning Yu could make a move. Zhao Rui had been suppressing her anger. She already had the upper hand when she fought with the demon god sun just now. However, the two warriors in the void interfered, which made her miserable beyond words. Now that Ning Yu had completed the lightning tribulation fluid baptism and joined the battle to hold back the demonic sun, she naturally had to take revenge. Tell me, who else is in the immortal spirit realm in your herd of fiends restaurant? Ning Yu did not care about Zhao Rui and the rest. He stared at the demon god sun and said lightly, the demonic sun was the peerless godson of the devil's restaurant, so he must have many secrets. Ning Yu chose not to kill the demon god sun for now because he wanted to learn more. Bah! Wouldn't I lose face if I said it, just because you asked me to? The demon god sun spat and said coldly, besides, even though you've reached the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm, you still only have 6 Tao energies. Killing you is as easy as killing a dog for me. Hearing the demon godson's words, Ning Yu felt like he was dreaming. How could the demon godson still say such stupid words at this time? Was his brain rusty? Sigh. Some people just won't give up until they see the coffin. Since the demonic godson didn't want to surrender, Ning Yu sighed. Then, he wrapped the great Tao energy around the red demon sword and rushed out. Oh no! Seeing Ning Yu rush towards him with the red demon sword, the demon godson's expression changed, and he quickly retreated. The demon godson knew his limits. The demon god gourd was a heavenly treasure, while the red demon sword was a peak sage flying sword. There was no comparison between the two. However, the fight with Zhao Rui had consumed a lot of the demon god gourd's energy. Not only was it severely injured, but it also only had 3 powerful attacks left. The demon godson would not use the last attack easily. As the saying went, good steel should be used on the blade. The demon godson's idea was to lure Ning Yu away, then suddenly turn around and use the demon god gourd to launch the last attack to severely injure Ning Yu. However, dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. Ning Yu suddenly stopped when he was 10 meters away from the demon godson. With a flick of his wrist, Ning Yu put the red demon sword into his storage ring and took out the leftover materials from the thunderbolt pool. The hardness of the leftover material from the thunderbolt pool was no less than that of a heavenly treasure. Using the leftover materials from the thunderbolt pool to deal with the demon god gourd couldn't be any better. Damn it! The demon godson knew the power of the object in Ning Yu's hand and couldn't help but curse. After all, it was Ning Yu who smashed his back with that object just now. Now that he saw Ning Yu take it out and wrap the Tao energies around it, how could the demon godson not be shocked? Die! Ning Yu didn't give the demon godson too much time to be shocked. He didn't hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. He held the leftover materials from the thunderbolt pool and smashed them toward the demon godson's head. Since the demon godson didn't want to surrender, there was no need for Ning Yu to keep him alive. To deal with such a peerless divine son, he should kill him with one blow and not give him any chance. Block it! In a hurry, the demon godson placed the demon god gourd in front of his head, trying to block the attack. Crack! However, a crisp sound was heard, and the demon god gourd was split in half from the middle. What? Seeing the demon god gourd split in half, the demon godson's eyes widened in disbelief. The demon god gourd was a heavenly treasure. If it could break a heavenly treasure, could it be a dark treasure that surpassed a heavenly treasure? Above the sky immortal was the mystic immortal. The natal dharma treasure of a sky immortal was a heavenly treasure, while the natal dharma treasure of a mystic immortal was a dark treasure. Generally speaking, it was difficult to break a heavenly treasure. In order to break a heavenly treasure, it would only be possible if it was a dark treasure of a higher level. You can't kill me. I am the peerless divine son of the Fiend Restaurant. If you kill me, the Tower Master of the Fiend Restaurant will turn you into ashes. The demon god's son shouted anxiously. After all, in the face of death, everyone would show their weak side. Even if the Tower Master of the Fiend Restaurant is here, I will still kill him. Ningyu didn't give the demon god's son any chance. He smashed the leftover materials from the Thunderbolt Pool on the demon god's son's head. Bang! The Thunderbolt Pool materials were so hard that even a heavenly treasure couldn't block them, let alone the demon god's son's head. After Ningyu's attack, the demon god's son's head exploded on the spot, and even his essence spirit died. Even the Tao energies in the demon god's son's body were devoured by the leftover materials. Devour. Although the demon god's son was dead, the energy in his body was still intact. Ningyu wouldn't waste such a good opportunity. He opened his mouth and started to devour the energy in the demon god's son's body. After reaching the peak of a half-step sky immortal, Ningyu's devouring ability had greatly increased. Chapter 1989. Whoosh! From the start of devouring the demonic god's son to the end, Ningyu had used less than 15 seconds. After devouring the demonic god's son, Ningyu patted his stomach and let out a long sigh. Although he did not increase his cultivation, the density of the energy in his body had clearly doubled. Whoosh! Before Ning, you could rest for a moment. Zhao Ruwei, in the distance, turned into a shadow and flew straight towards him. It was obvious that Zhao Ruwei had taken care of the two martial artists hiding in the void. But Ningyu realized that Zhao Ruwei still only had 7 great Tao energies in her body. Ningyu pondered. It seemed that he couldn't devour someone else's great Tao energies under any circumstances. He had to fulfill certain conditions in order to use someone else's great Tao energies for his own use. Of course, Ningyu didn't know about these conditions. Get ready. We'll go to the Thousand Demons Ridge later. Ningyu went straight to the point when Zhao Ruwei came to his side. Now that the city of demons had been refined by the demonic god's son, there was no need to stay here anymore. It might be the best choice to go to the Thousand Demons Ridge first. No problem. Zhao Ruwei didn't have any objections. Going to the Thousand Demons Ridge or staying here didn't matter to her. She had 7 great Tao energies in her body now. She had to stabilize them before she could continue devouring great Tao energies. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to devour any great Tao energies in front of him. Whoosh whoosh. Then, Ningyu flicked his wrist and released the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, the Wuji Divine Son, and the others from the storage ring. As for Wu Patian, the War God Crane, and the others, Ningyu let them stay in the storage ring. After all, they were going to the Thousand Demons Ridge next. It was an extremely dangerous place. Even an Earth immortal wouldn't be able to survive there, let alone a human immortal like Wu Patian. Ningyu, hand over your heavenly tribulation fluid. As soon as he emerged from the storage ring, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu yelled at Ningyu. Although they were in the storage ring, Ningyu's earthly immortal tribulation was too big to hide from them. When Ningyu was undergoing his worldly immortal tribulation, he already had a lot of lightning tribulation fluid, let alone this earthly immortal tribulation. In their view, Ningyu definitely had a lot of lightning tribulation liquid on him. Here, Ningyu already knew that the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu would ask for it, so he flicked his wrist and threw out 2 jade bottles. Every jade bottle was filled with tribulation lightning liquid. It wasn't that Ningyu didn't want to give Dark Emperor and Ning Lu too much, but with their human celestial full circle cultivation, no matter how much he gave them, they wouldn't be able to refine it. It would just be a waste. Whoosh! After getting rid of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, Ningyu took out a slightly larger jade bottle and threw it to the human demon. The human demon was a celestial immortal, but he had some hidden injuries in his body. With the human demon's body strength, it was enough to consume twice the amount of tribulation lightning liquid. Many thanks. The human demon thanked Ningyu, then took the jade bottle and retreated to the other side. Actually, the human demon had wanted Ningyu's tribulation lightning liquid for a long time. He was very clear that if he could use the tribulation lightning liquid to remove the hidden injuries in his body, then his strength would instantly increase explosively. He could even unlock some of the seals in his body and use the power of Great Tao that he couldn't use before. Right now, the celestial spirit realm couldn't withstand the descent of a celestial immortal, so whoever had more power of Great Tao could dominate the celestial spirit realm. The human demon's power of Great Tao, be it quality or power, was much stronger than Ningyu's. After all, his power of Great Tao had been through the celestial immortal tribulation. Do you want tribulation lightning liquid? Ningyu didn't give Zhao Rui the tribulation lightning liquid, but looked at her and asked. Towards Zhao Rui, Ningyu always felt that she was like an old monster that had reincarnated. After all, swallowing the power of Great Tao and killing the tribulation clouds with her bare hands wasn't something anyone could do. Moreover, Zhao Rui had already admitted that she came from a large faction in a higher plane. Since she came from a large faction, then she shouldn't be too interested in his tribulation lightning liquid. Ningyu didn't have much tribulation lightning liquid on him to begin with, so he had to save it if he could. I don't need it for now. Zhao Rui shook her head, but as she spoke, she seemed to have thought of something and continued. You can give Zhao Hang some tribulation lightning liquid. All right. Ningyu nodded. Since Zhao Rui had spoken, he couldn't refuse. After all, giving Zhao Hang tribulation lightning liquid was better than giving it to Zhao Rui. With the strength of Zhao Rui's body, the amount of tribulation lightning liquid she had swallowed was probably more than the human demon. She had a single spiritual body and was an expert from a large faction in a higher plane. There was no guarantee that her cultivation in her previous life was even stronger than the human demon. But Zhao Hang was different. His cultivation hadn't even reached the human immortal realm, so he only needed to be given a few drops of tribulation lightning liquid, and it would be sufficient for him to charge into the human immortal realm. Swish! Ningyu first released Zhao Hang from his spatial ring, and then gave him 3 drops of tribulation lightning liquid. Ningyu didn't let Zhao Hang personally swallow and refine the tribulation lightning liquid, but instead forcefully injected 3 drops of tribulation lightning liquid into Zhao Hang's body and helped Zhao Hang refine it. Go! When Ningyu helped Zhao Hang refine the tribulation lightning liquid, Zhao Rui flicked her sleeve and suddenly threw out a white medicinal pill. Bang! This white medicinal pill suddenly transformed into powder and entered Zhao Hang's body from all directions. The quality of this medicinal pill. As an alchemist, the strength of Ningyu's soul force had reached the level of monarch rank, so he was naturally able to notice that this medicinal pill that Zhao Rui took out was extraordinary. Merely from the quality of the medicinal pill, it wasn't inferior to the 5-finger immortal pill that he obtained from the 5-finger cauldron. A peak monarch rank medicinal pill. The grade of the 5-finger immortal pill was around the peak monarch rank to the 1st grade saint rank. So, the medicinal pill that Zhao Rui gave Zhao Hang was at least a peak monarch rank medicinal pill. Zhao Hang's cultivation was only at the saint rank now, and with the strength of his body, it was utterly impossible for him to refine an entire peak monarch rank medicinal pill. Help him refine this medicinal pill. Right when Ningyu was feeling bewildered, Zhao Rui's voice suddenly resounded by his ear. Ningyu's face darkened. He thought that Zhao Rui would personally help Zhao Hang, but who would have imagined that in the end, it was still him who had to do it. However, Ningyu didn't complain about anything, and he waved his hands repeatedly before suddenly slapping Zhao Hang's back. The soul force within his body surged out and entered Zhao Hang's body. Whem! Circulating the spiritual transformation art to the extreme, Ningyu started to refine the tribulation lightning liquid and peak monarch rank medicinal pill in Zhao Hang's body. In this region, Ningyu was helping Zhao Hang, while the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were both busy refining the tribulation lightning liquid to break through to the earth immortal realm. The human devil was also busy refining the tribulation lightning liquid, wanting to remove the seal in his body. As for Zhao Rui, she was flying back and forth in the surroundings, in charge of protecting them. With so many people cultivating here, it definitely wouldn't do without someone protecting them. Chapter 1990. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. As the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were both at the perfected human immortal realm, they were only a step away from Earth immortals. Therefore, they experienced some changes after consuming the tribulation fluid. Without a doubt, the space above their heads was shrouded by the dark tribulation clouds. Earth immortal tribulation. At this moment, the Dark Emperor and Ning Luha's Earth immortal tribulation had arrived at the same time. Swish, swish. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu knew their place very well. They did not stay for long, but dashed into the distance with a flicker of their bodies. Ning Yu, Zhao Hang, and the others were in this area. If they tried to break through to Earth immortal realm here, they would definitely be affected. Therefore, the two of them chose to obediently fly into the distance. Rumble. As soon as they were far away from Ning Yu and the others, the dark tribulation clouds above their heads let out a loud rumble. Then, two tribulation clouds came crashing down. One of them smashed towards Ning Lu, the other towards the Dark Emperor. Fortunately, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were far away. Otherwise, the two tribulation clouds would definitely be affected. Crack! The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's Earth immortal tribulation had just begun when the human demon's body began to crackle. After refining the tribulation fluid that Ning Yu had given him, the human demon had yet to fully recover from his injuries, but he had already unlocked some of the seals. In other words, the human demon could already use some Great Tao Force. 3 Great Tao Forces. Although humans could only use 3 Great Tao Forces, the strength of his Great Tao Force was even stronger than the demonic god's son. In other words, the human demon could fight against martial artists with 6 Great Tao Forces. If I give you more tribulation fluid, how many Great Tao Forces can you use? Ning Yu retracted his hand from Zhao Hang's back and asked the human demon. After all, they were going to Thousand Demon Ridge later. If the human demon's strength could increase, it would be a good thing for Ning Yu. 6 Great Tao Forces. The human demon thought for a moment and said, "If you give me more tribulation fluid, I can undo a small part of the seal in my body and use 6 Great Tao Forces." All right. Without any hesitation, Ning Yu pulled out a jade vial from his storage ring and tossed it to the human demon. Ha! Taking the liquid from Ning Yu, the human devil opened his mouth and swallowed the entire bottle. Kacha! The jade bottle shattered, and the lightning tribulation liquid inside entered the human devil's body through his throat. Ka-ka-ka! Several crisp sounds rang out, and the demonic human's aura rose once again. Before this, the human devil could only unleash the strength of a high-grade half-step heaven immortal. But now his cultivation base had recovered to the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm. Bang! Before long, a muffled sound came from the human devil's body. Soon after, 3 strands of Great Tao energy appeared around them. In addition to the 3 Great Tao powers the human demon had released when he unsealed himself, human demon could now use 6 Great Tao powers. It was no exaggeration to say that the human demon's battle prowess had leapt to become the strongest in this area. Even if Zhao Rui and Ning Yu joined hands, they might not be a match for the human devil. After all, the human demon's 6 Great Tao powers were Great Tao powers that had experienced the heavenly immortal tribulation. On the other hand, Ning Yu's power of the Great Tao was only after experiencing the earthly immortal tribulation. It was completely different from the power of the Great Tao that had experienced the heavenly immortal tribulation. Boom! Before Ning Yu could sigh with emotion, Zhao Hang, who was in front of him, suddenly opened his eyes, and a burst of aura rushed out. Then, black tribulation clouds appeared above Zhao Hang's head. Human immortal tribulation. At this moment, Zhao Hang welcomed his own human immortal tribulation. Retreat. Raising his head to look at the black tribulation clouds, Ning Yu stomped on the ground and flew into the distance. Although Ning Yu could withstand Zhao Hang's human immortal tribulation with his current strength, he didn't plan to do so. Because if he helped Zhao Hang withstand the human immortal tribulation, he would take a portion of the final baptism. In other words, there was a huge difference between relying on others to complete the tribulation and completing the tribulation yourself. Ning Yu, go look after the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. I will protect Zhao Hang. Zhao Hang was Zhao Rui's brother after all. Therefore, Zhao Rui did not want Ning Yu to help Zhao Hang's human immortal tribulation. As soon as she finished speaking, she circled around Zhao Hang, acting as his protector. All right, Ning Yu didn't want to fight with Zhao Rui for the position of protector. He nodded. Then his figure flashed and rushed towards the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. The Dark Emperor was the purple gold sky devouring hound, and Ning Lu was the world tree. Their earthly immortal tribulation was not simple. Although the Dark Emperor's earthly immortal tribulation could not compare to Ning Yu's, Ning Lu's earthly immortal tribulation was different. After all, Ning Lu's body was the world tree, and the world tree was a terrifying existence that soared through the clouds in ancient times. Rumble. Just as Ning Yu was thinking about this, a tribulation cloud as thick as a waist suddenly smashed toward Ning Lu. Pinnacle, half-step, heaven immortal. The power of this tribulation cloud had reached the level of a terrifying pinnacle, half-step, heaven immortal. Ning Yu was shocked. This was only Ning Lu's first 3 tribulation clouds. The first 3 tribulation clouds were already so powerful. One could only imagine how powerful the later ones would be. Rumble. While Ning Yu was still shocked by Ning Lu's terrifying tribulation cloud, on the other side, a tribulation cloud suddenly smashed towards the Dark Emperor. Pinnacle Earth Immortal. The power of the Dark Emperor's tribulation cloud had reached the pinnacle Earth Immortal realm. As expected of the purple gold sky devouring hound, Ning Yu's face was solemn. In ancient times, the sky-devouring hound was a terrifying race that was comparable to the true dragon. The purple gold sky-devouring hound was the king of the sky-devouring hound race. It was within Ning Yu's expectations that the Dark Emperor could summon such terrifying tribulation clouds. Rumble. As the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were very special, their Earth immortal tribulations didn't require Ning Yu's interference. In Ning Yu's opinion, the two of them would definitely be able to pass through their Earth immortal tribulations. All he had to do was to watch over here to prevent any small fry from entering the tribulation clouds to disturb Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor. Drip, drip. Time ticked by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Within these 3 hours, the power of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's tribulation cloud had reached the pinnacle half-step heaven immortal realm. Zhao Hang's Earth immortal tribulations had ended while the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's Earth immortal tribulations were still getting stronger. Shua. After helping Zhao Hang complete his Earth immortal tribulations, Zhao Rui's body flashed, and she came to Ning Yu's side. Looking at the ever-increasing tribulation clouds, Zhao Rui said, "When we reach the higher planes, I can let the two of them return with me." Return with you? Chapter 1991. That's right. Zhao Rui nodded and then explained. Both of them are very talented. Let them go back with me, and they'll be able to unleash their talents to the fullest. They'll be able to break through to the heaven immortal realm very quickly. Zhao Rui knew that Dark Emperor was a purple gold sky devouring hound, but she didn't know Ning Lu's exact identity. But from Zhao Rui's point of view, since Ning Lu's Earth immortal tribulation was comparable to Dark Emperor's, or even slightly stronger, then Ning Lu's identity wouldn't be low. She had some status in the higher planes. Letting Dark Emperor and Ning Lu go back with her was better than staying by Ning Yu's side. If she didn't know that Ning Yu was very stubborn, she would even invite Ning Yu to go back with her. I can't make the decision for now. When their Earth immortal tribulation is over, you can ask them personally. If they're willing to go back with you, I won't force them. Ning Yu didn't give Zhao Rui any promises. He wasn't sure what Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were thinking. If he hastily agreed to Zhao Rui now, it was very likely that the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu would be displeased. Of course I know that. Zhao Rui nodded slightly and didn't say anything else. To be honest, Zhao Rui was very confident. When Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's Earth immortal tribulation was over, she would promise them something that they couldn't refuse. Rumble. Far away, Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's Earth immortal tribulation was still going on. As time passed, their tribulation cloud were getting stronger and stronger. Just now, the power of the tribulation clouds was only equivalent to a pinnacle half-step Heaven Immortal's full power attack. Now, the power of the tribulation clouds was close to that of a martial artist with a great Tao. I wonder if they will be able to withstand it. Ningyu frowned slightly, and his expression was solemn. Now, the power of Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's tribulation clouds were no weaker than Ning Yu's tribulation clouds. After all, one was a purple gold sky devouring hound, and the other was a world tree. Rumble, rumble. At this moment, two terrifying tribulation clouds smashed down from the sky. Their targets were Ning Lu and Dark Emperor. The last tribulation cloud. Obviously, this tribulation cloud was the last tribulation cloud for the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. They successfully completed the Earth immortal tribulation and accepted the baptism of the lightning tribulation liquid. If they couldn't, then sorry, they would both disappear from this world. Success or failure depended on this one move. Block. At the moment of crisis, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu both used their power and attacked the tribulation clouds without holding back. Kacha! Kacha! Under the powerful attacks of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, the last tribulation cloud that was charging towards them let out a cracking sound and split into two. After the tribulation cloud split into two, its power was directly reduced by half. Under such circumstances, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were naturally able to withstand the tribulation clouds very easily. Ooh! Seeing the sudden change, Ningyu couldn't help but let out a long sigh. The overall situation was set. What happened next was basically confirmed. Buzz. As expected, after the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu blocked the last tribulation cloud, a buzzing sound suddenly rang out in midair. Immediately after, two golden lightning pools appeared. Just from the quality of the lightning pools, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's lightning pools were only slightly weaker than Ning Yu's lightning pools, but not by much. Plop, plop. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu didn't stay on the spot for too long. They directly leaped up and both jumped into the lightning pools. The lightning tribulation liquid rushed into their bodies. Under their full efforts to refine it, it quickly decreased. Almost every few seconds, the lightning tribulation liquid in the lightning pools would decrease by a portion. After successfully passing the Earth immortal tribulation, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's cultivation also rose from human immortal full circle realm to peak half a step heaven immortal realm. It could be said that their combat power was already the strongest among the martial artists who didn't possess the power of Tao. Of course, this was under the situation where they hadn't been baptized by the lightning tribulation. Once they completed the baptism of the lightning tribulation liquid, their combat power would increase by several folds. At that time, even if they didn't have the power of Tao, they could still fight against martial artists who did and even kill them. Drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. Although the speed at which the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu devoured the lightning tribulation liquid was very fast, it was still very hard for them to completely devour a large pool of lightning tribulation liquid in a short period of time. 2 hours. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu used a full 2 hours before they devoured half of the lightning tribulation liquid in the lightning pool. As for the remaining lightning tribulation liquid, the two of them kept it in case of emergencies. Ningyu, eat my fist. After successfully completing the baptism of the lightning tribulation liquid, Ning Lu's feet stepped on the ground and his body suddenly charged out. His right hand clenched into a fist and punched fiercely towards Ningyu. Almost every time his strength increased, Ning Lu would find Ningyu to spar. Of course, Every time Ning Lu would end up with a crushing defeat. Defeat after defeat. Using these 4 words to describe Ning, Lu couldn't be any better. But this time, Ning Lu was very confident. Firstly, his main body was the world tree. Secondly, he went from human immortal full circle realm to peak half a step heaven immortal realm. Lastly, he even completed the baptism of the lightning tribulation liquid and obtained a qualitative breakthrough. Although his body didn't produce any great Tao energy, his dark golden branches appeared once again, and this time, there were 6 of them. 6 dark golden branches signified that his strength was already comparable to that of a cultivator with 6 great Tao energies. Me too. Seeing Ning Lu make his move, the Dark Emperor didn't stay idle either. His 4 hooves stepped on the ground, and his body suddenly charged out. Although the Dark Emperor wasn't the world tree, his main body was the heaven-devouring purple gold. After successfully passing the Earth immortal tribulation, the Dark Emperor awakened some of the sealed memories in his body. However, the inherited memories that the Dark Emperor had awakened were not his strongest trump card. His strongest trump card was still his devouring power. The heaven-devouring hound's power of devouring would get stronger as their cultivation increased. Previously, his cultivation was low and his inherited memories hadn't awakened, so he couldn't fully understand the true meaning of devouring. Now that he had advanced to peak half a step heaven immortal realm and awakened his inherited memories, he was about to understand the true meaning of devouring. Although the Dark Emperor's combat strength was slightly weaker than Ning Lu, it wasn't too much weaker. I knew you guys would spar with me. Looking at the approaching Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu rolled his eyes and extended 2 fists helplessly. Since they wanted to spar, Ning Yu naturally wouldn't spoil their fun. The energy in his body coiled around his fists, and Ning Yu punched out 2 punches in an instant. As it was just a spar, Ning Yu didn't use the Great Tao energy. After all, the might of Great Tao energy was very strong, and a little carelessness could cause an accidental injury. Chapter 1992. Ning Yu's strength is much greater than I imagined. The human demon frowned slightly when he saw Ning Yu's nonchalant appearance. Previously, the human demon had thought that he could suppress Ning Yu with his strength. Even if he couldn't, he could still fight Ning Yu head-on. But now, the human demon realized that even though his 6 great Tao forces had all undergone the baptism of the sky immortal tribulation, he still couldn't suppress Ning Yu. This was because Ning Yu was stronger than him in terms of physical toughness, speed, and reflexes. Moreover, Ning Yu's 6 great Tao forces had completely fused into one, turning into a single great Tao force. Moreover, Ning Yu's great Tao force had undergone the baptism of tribulation fluid. Although it wasn't as strong as the great Tao force that had undergone the sky immortal tribulation, it wasn't too far off. He's not simple indeed. Zhao Rui's expression also turned slightly solemn. Zhao Rui secretly compared her strength with Ning Yu's. She was shocked to discover that she could no longer suppress Ning Yu completely. In other words, Ning Yu completely possessed the ability to fight her. How long had it been? Only a few days had passed since she'd awakened the memories of her past life. In just a few days, she'd witnessed an almost impossible miracle. It should be noted that exceptional geniuses like Ning Yu were extremely rare even in high-class planes. Only a few huge factions in the depths of the cosmos could produce a seedling or 2. Bang! Bang! While the human demon and Zhao Rui were still shocked by Ning Yu's astonishing strength, Ning Yu's sparring session with the Dark Emperor and the others was nearing its end. 2 crisp sounds rang out, followed by the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu retreating in unison. It was clear that Ning Yu had won the sparring session. Holy **T. Ning Yu, how are you so strong? Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor's bodies drew a beautiful arc in the air, and then quickly rushed to Ning Yu's side and said in surprise. Both of them were shocked. With their strength, they could even slightly contend with the demonic god's son. However, when they faced Ning Yu, it was as if they were facing a vast ocean. They were powerless and were defeated without any suspense. I've always been this strong. Ningyu shrugged and said, let's rest here for a while before heading to the Myriad Demon Ridge. Actually, Ningyu wanted to head to the Myriad Demon Ridge just now, but before he left, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu's earthly immortal tribulation came. Due to this reason, Ningyu could only stay and wait for them to finish their tribulation before leaving. At this moment, both of their earthly immortal tribulations had ended, and Zhao Heng had successfully advanced to the human immortal stage. The human demon had also unlocked some of the seals in his body and could use the 6 Dao powers. It could be said that the combat power of these people had already reached its peak state. There couldn't be a better time to head to the Myriad Demon Ridge. Ningyu and the rest did not stay here for too long. 10 minutes later, they left in an orderly manner and charged towards the Myriad Demon Ridge. Buzz. Not long after Ningyu and the others left, a crack appeared in the void of this area. Then, a young martial artist appeared. If the demonic god's son was still alive, he would definitely find this young martial artist very familiar. Tianlong God's son. This young martial artist was none other than the peerless godson of the Heaven Secret sect, Tianlong God's son. He just experienced a great battle. And there's also the aura of the earthly immortal tribulation and human immortal tribulation. And even Tianlong God's son first looked around, then seemed to feel something. His expression changed, and he said in a low voice, the aura of a heaven immortal. That's right, Tianlong God's son felt a trace of the aura of a heaven immortal in this area. Although this trace of heaven immortal aura was very weak, Tianlong God's sharp senses still detected it. There was no doubt that this trace of heaven immortal aura shocked Tianlong God. Could it be that someone has become a heaven immortal from the immortal spirit state? Tianlong God frowned slightly and murmured, or maybe a heavenly treasure launched a suicidal attack. Then Tianlong God's son shook his head and threw these two thoughts out of his mind. Although this trace of heaven immortal aura was weak, it was very real. It was as if there was a sky immortal expert hiding around him. Oh no! Suddenly, Tianlong God's son seemed to have discovered something. He hurriedly stomped on the ground, turned into a shadow, and dashed away. Whoosh! A few seconds after Tianlong God's son disappeared, the void where he was originally had exploded. Then, a martial artist appeared. I'm still one step late. After this martial artist appeared, he looked in the direction where Tianlong God's son disappeared and said in a low voice, the power of 9 great paths. No wonder he could erase the mark in the 5-fingered divine elixir. The 5-fingered divine. This martial artist was none other than the owner of the 5-fingered cauldron, the 5-fingered divine elixir. In fact, the 5-fingered divine elixir had wanted to rush over when he lost contact with the cauldron and the 5-fingered divine elixir. However, he had something urgent to attend to at that time, so he was delayed. After he finished his business, he immediately followed the aura and rushed over. However, he was still one step too late. There's a trace of the aura of the Heaven Secret sect. The 5-fingered divine sniffed the air for a moment. Then his face turned cold, and he said coldly, I have no grudges with the Heaven Secret sect. I didn't expect you to covet my 5-fingered divine elixir. Very well, very well. Crack. Out of anger, the 5-fingered divine clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. Without a doubt, the 5-fingered divine blamed the Heaven Secret sect for what had happened. If Tianlong God knew what the 5-fingered divine elixir was thinking, he would probably vomit blood. After all, that matter had nothing to do with the Heaven Secret sect. On the contrary, the Heaven Secret sect had an irreconcilable feud with Ningyu. Now that he had an enemy at the sky immortal level for no reason, how could he not be depressed? Count yourself lucky. Let's meet again at the Myriad Demon Ridge. The 5-fingered divine took a deep breath. Then his body gradually turned into nothingness and disappeared into the void. Ningyu had no idea what had happened here. At the same time, he was rushing toward the Myriad Demon Ridge at full speed. The Myriad Demon Ridge contained the greatest opportunity of the entire immortal spirit grade. Moreover, it was rumored that there was a spatial tear in the depths of the Myriad Demon Ridge that led directly to a high-level plane. Due to the influence of the plane barrier, no immortal spirit-grade martialists had been able to ascend to a high-level plane for hundreds of years. Now that there was a chance to enter a high-level plane, all the immortal spirit-grade and demon spirit-grade martialists went crazy. After all, in their opinion, the density of essence, energy, and resources outside the high-level plane far exceeded that of the immortal forest gold and the demonic chains. Chapter 1993. After traveling at full speed for about 10 minutes, Ningyu suddenly stopped and shouted at the void ahead, "Come out! I know you guys are there." "Someone's there?" Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu beside him shifted their gazes over. However, to them, there wasn't anyone in the void ahead. Why would Ningyu say there was someone there? Ningyu is right. The human demon and Zhao Rui exchanged a glance, then took a step forward and unleashed their auras. Whether it was the human demon or Zhao Rui, both of them were extremely powerful. Although they didn't use their full strength, ordinary peak half-step heaven immortals wouldn't be able to withstand it. Don't, let's come out. Don't attack. We mean no harm." Just as the human demon and Zhao Rui unleashed their auras, a few hurried voices rang out in the void. Then, several martial artists flew out of the void. There's only one peak half-step heaven immortal. The rest are human immortal and earth immortal, Ningyu murmured, looking at the sudden appearance of the martial artists. Their cultivation wasn't too high. The highest was only a peak half-step heaven immortal. By now, Ningyu could basically confirm that these people weren't here for him. He just happened to bump into them. "Who are you people? Why are you hiding here?" Although it was just a coincidence, Ningyu still had to ask what they were here for. If they were from Sacred Divine Palace or Fiend Restaurant, then it wouldn't make sense for him to let them go. After all, Ningyu and the Fiend Restaurant and Sacred Divine Palace were now in an irreconcilable situation. It was either you die or I die. Therefore, when he encountered people from forces like Sacred Divine Palace and Devil's Restaurant, Ningyu would never let them go. He could only kill them forcefully. This was because the enemy he had let go today might cause him a lot of trouble in the future. "Senior, don't kill us. We're from a supreme 9 Purities temple. We're here to find our palace master," the peak half-step heaven immortal elder said hurriedly after hearing Ningyu's cold words. "What?" Ningyu's expression changed. His aura suddenly pressed down on the elder. The reason why Ningyu was so agitated was because his mother in this life, Mu Yinshan, came from supreme 9 Purities emptiness. However, Ningyu remembered clearly that the supreme 9 Purities temple might have been very powerful in the past. But now it was at best a weak power. After all, the plane barrier had loosened, and many powerful forces had sent experts from high-level planes to descend. Ningyu got some information from Wu Patian and the Battle God Crane. It seemed like the Zenith 9 Purities Palace didn't send any experts from higher planes. Why were there so many experts looking for the palace master of the supreme 9 Purities temple? "What's the name of your palace master?" Ningyu took a deep breath as he looked at the white-clad old man and asked in a deep voice. Now, Ningyu was eager to know the name of the palace master mentioned by the elder. Was it Mu Yinshan? If it was really Mu Yinshan, then he would have to interrogate her properly. Mu Yinshan. Under the pressure of Ningyu's aura, the elder shivered and said in a trembling voice. Since he didn't know the relationship between Ningyu and the supreme 9 Purities temple, the elder was very nervous. If Ningyu and the supreme 9 Purities temple had a good relationship, then they wouldn't have died today. They might even have found helpers and asked Ningyu and the others to help find Mu Yinshan. After all, the elder knew that Ningyu and the others were very strong, so strong that they could compete with those people. But if Ningyu and the supreme 9 Purities temple had a bad relationship, then he would undoubtedly expose himself by saying Mu Yinshan's name. The consequences would be very serious. But at this time, the elder couldn't care too much and could only resign himself to fate. "Speak, what happened, Mu Yinshan?" Ningyu took a step forward and said coldly. Crack. Under Ningyu's powerful aura, not only the other human immortals and Earth immortals knelt on the ground. But even the elder couldn't help but kneel. Even the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, who were next to him, couldn't take it. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu knew very well that this time, Ning was really angry. The palace master is being hunted by the sacred divine palace. The white-clothed old man endured the pain all over his body and gritted his teeth. Swoosh! Suddenly, Ning withdrew his aura, and everything returned to normal. Do you know where your palace master is now? After withdrawing his aura, Ning looked at the elder calmly and asked. The elder didn't know what Ning was up to. He thought about it and said honestly, the palace master should be at the range of demons by now. When we separated last time, we said that we would meet at the range of demons. The range of demons. A cold look appeared in Ning eyes. Then, he grabbed the elder's shoulder and rushed towards the range of demons. Moreover, Ning asked as he flew, why are the people from the sacred divine palace after your palace master? I'm not very clear about the reason. I only know that our palace master seems to have something that the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace wants. The elder didn't dare to be slow and explained hurriedly. The peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace? Ning frowned slightly. Generally speaking, there was more than one peerless divine son in a powerful force. Some forces even had more than a dozen or more peerless divine sons. Do you know how many powers of the great path the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace has? Ning asked again. I'm not very clear about the specific number of powers of the great path, but I know that a genius in my sect who had 5 powers of the great path couldn't even withstand one move from the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace, and was killed, the elder in white said the white-robed old man. However, the white-robed old man still had some lingering fear when he said those words. The situation was very tragic. If it wasn't for an elder in the sect who had 6 powers of the great path and tried his best to resist the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace, all of them would probably have died. He killed an expert who had 5 powers of the great path in one move. Ning looked slightly solemn. It wasn't because Ning was afraid of the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace. To be honest, Ning could also kill an expert who had 5 powers of the great path in one move. What Ning was worried about was whether his mother in this life, Mu Shan, could hold on until he passed away. By the way, what's the strength of your palace master, Mu Shan? Suddenly, Ning seemed to have thought of something and asked the elder in white. In fact, even if the seal in front of the Myriad Demon Ridge was opened, these people would definitely not be able to enter. Whoosh! The silence in front of the Myriad Demon's Ridge was broken. A blur rushed into the crowd at a terrifying speed. Rumble! As soon as the figure rushed into the crowd, the void around her suddenly exploded. On my eye! What the hell happened? Who broke my leg? Why did my cultivation drop to the creation realm? Oh no! A peak expert has attacked. After the powerful attack, dozens of martial artists in this area were killed. As for the blur that flew over just now, she was lucky enough to survive. However, even though she was lucky enough to survive, she was hit by the powerful attack and spat out several mouthfuls of blood, and her aura dropped sharply. In a short time, the martial artist's aura dropped from the peak half-step heaven immortal realm to the early earth immortal realm. Bang! 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 Not long after the martial artist spat out blood, the void around her suddenly cracked, and then 3 figures fell heavily around her. Palace Lord! Quick! One of the old men raised his head with difficulty, opened his mouth, and was about to say something, but suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. Whoosh! At this time, the void in midair cracked again. A group of martial artists slowly walked out of the void. Hiss! The moment these few martial artists appeared, everyone in front of the entire Myriad Devil Ridge sucked in a breath of cold air. Terrifying! From the aura that these martial artists emitted, the weakest one was at the peak half-step heaven immortal realm. As for the young martial artist behind them, although he did not look special, the pressure he exuded was the greatest. It's the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace. Suddenly, someone who knew the young martial artist exclaimed, "The peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace? Didn't he come long ago?" Someone pointed to the other side in confusion. There was also a young martial artist over there. Previously, someone had said that the young martial artist was the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace. Why was there another person who was also the peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace? I'm afraid you've lost your mind. The martial artist who spoke earlier said coldly, "The sacred divine palace is huge, and there are many divine sons in the sect. To be called the peerless divine son, one must have at least 5 great path powers. As for the others, they can only be called divine sons at best. They are not even close to the peerless divine son." Whoosh! Hearing this martial artist's explanation, everyone finally understood. So the person who appeared now was the true peerless divine son of the sacred divine palace. Swoosh! Just as everyone was still in shock, the divine son, who had been worshipped by everyone, flew over hurriedly. "Welcome, divine son Ihong." This divine son's expression was very respectful, and his head was almost lowered to his chest. The young martial artist who was called Divine Son, Ihong waved his hand and said indifferently, "Divine Sun Ming, have you seen Divine Sun Wu?" There was a rule in the sacred divine palace. All divine sons had to address each other as Divine Son. Otherwise, they would be stripped of their Divine Son position. Therefore, even though Divine Son Ihong's status was many times higher than Divine Sun Ming's, he still had to address Divine Sun Ming as Divine Son. Divine Sun Wu seems to have followed Divine Sun He of the primordial demon sect, and Divine Son of the Demon's Restaurant to the City of Demons. Divine Sun Ming didn't dare to be negligent and said hurriedly, "They went to the City of Demons?" Divine Son Ihong frowned slightly. Then he pinched his right fingers and calculated. Boom! After a while, Divine Son Ihong suddenly released his aura and pressed down in all directions. What exactly happened? Please let us go, Divine Son Ihong. Divine Son Ihong, we have no enmity with the sacred divine palace. Please don't kill us. I am willing to join the sacred divine palace. I only ask that Divine Son Ihong spare my life. Under the pressure of Divine Son Ihong's strong aura, some martial artists with no backbone started to surrender. Swoosh! Luckily, Divine Son Ihong didn't release his aura for too long. He looked straight at Divine Sun Ming and said, "Go to the City of Demons and investigate who killed Divine Sun Wu." Yes. Divine Sun Ming nodded hurriedly. Then his body flashed, and he rushed towards the City of Demons. Although he was extremely unwilling, Divine Sun Ming didn't dare to say anything. After all, Divine Son Ihong was much stronger than him. Chapter 1995. God Sun Ming had just left when God Ihong retreated slightly. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at the palace lord of the supreme Nine Purities Temple, Mu Yun Shan, with interest. "Hand that thing over." Before God Ihong could speak, a middle-aged man beside him stepped out and said coldly, "Otherwise, I will let you know what cruelty is. Mighty Miracle General." This middle-aged man was God Ihong's follower, Mighty Miracle General. Mighty Miracle Divine General's cultivation base was at the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm, and he possessed 5 Tao forces. Ever since coming to the immortal spirit realm, God Ihong hadn't fought. All the problems they encountered were solved by Mighty Miracle Divine General. Now that he was facing Mu Yun Shan, God Ihong naturally chose to let Mighty Miracle General take action. After all, there were Primordial Demon Sect, Devil's Restaurant, Heaven's Secret Sect, and other powerful forces in front of the Myriad Demon Ridge. Before entering the Myriad Demon Ridge, God Ihong didn't want to reveal too much of his strength. Puffed. You need to have the ability to get that thing. Mu Yun Shan looked coldly at Mighty Miracle General and said, "Even if I destroy that thing, I won't hand it over to you. You're courting death." Seeing Mu Yun Shan's stubbornness, Mighty Miracle General suddenly glared with a cold gleam in his eyes. Then he dashed out. Mighty Miracle General's speed wasn't any slower than the cold gleam in his eyes. Almost in an instant, Mighty Miracle General and the cold gleam arrived in front of Mu Yunshan. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to hand it over or not? Mighty Miracle General released his aura and pressed down on Mu Yunshan as he said fiercely. To be honest, Mighty Miracle General might be full of vigor, but he didn't dare to really kill Mu Yunshan. After all, Mu Yunshan had something that God, Yihong, needed. If he killed Mu Yunshan rashly, God Yihong would probably be the first to not let him off. The reason why he had unleashed his aura and his cold aura was to force Mu Yunshan to compromise. No, Mu Yunshan resisted Mighty Miracle General's aura with difficulty as she said, I want to see what you can do to me today. I'm so angry. Divine General Mighty Miracle was so angry that his nose was crooked. He really couldn't kill him, couldn't move, and had nowhere to vent his anger. As long as you can get that thing, I don't care how you do it. Just as Divine General Mighty Miracle was at his wit's end, Divine Son, Yihong's indifferent voice suddenly rang in his ears. Divine General Giant Miracle was taken aback at first. Then his face lit up with joy. God's Son, Yihong's words were very clear. As long as he didn't kill Mu Yunshan, he would do anything. Ka ka ka. Thereupon, Divine General Juling twisted his neck, producing a cracking sound. Since you're so stubborn, I'll have to show you my prowess. With a thought, the Mighty Miracle Divine General flung away the cold light beside him. Xiao! The cold light was very fast and arrived in front of Mu Yunshan in the blink of an eye. Pucci! Under the powerful attack of the cold light, Mu Yunshan spat out a mouthful of blood. Her already weak aura became even weaker. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to hand it over or not? Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General took a step forward and released his aura again, pressing down on Mu Yunshan for the second time. Originally, Mu Yunshan's aura was already very weak. Resisting the cold light had already consumed most of her primordial qi. Now that Divine General Mighty's aura was pressing down, it was obvious that she couldn't withstand it anymore. Ka 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 ka. Ka 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 ka. Cracking sounds could be heard from Mu Yunshan's body. Her bones seemed to be on the verge of breaking. You're courting death. However, just as Mu Yunshan couldn't hold on any longer, a roar suddenly came from afar. Crack! Immediately after, the void exploded and a middle-aged man suddenly appeared. Oh no! Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General's expression changed slightly when he saw the middle-aged man suddenly appear. He hurriedly retreated. Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General was no fool. He could naturally tell how powerful this middle-aged man was. 6 great Tao. From the middle-aged man, Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General could sense the aura of 6 great Tao powers. One must know that even Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General only had 5 great Tao powers. Facing a middle-aged man with 6 great Tao powers, how could Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General resist? Therefore, Divine General Mighty Miracle Divine General quickly turned to look at God's Son Yihong, wanting him to help. However, God's Son Yihong clearly had no intention of helping. His arms were still crossed in front of his chest as he stared at the middle-aged man with interest. He muttered, Are you finally out? Yuanba God of the primordial demon sect should be here too. Rumble. As expected, as God's Son Yihong murmured, the void beside the middle-aged man suddenly exploded. Then a young man walked out of the void. God's Son Yuanba. The young man was the God's Son Yuanba that Yihong had mentioned. He was the peerless godson of the primordial demon sect. His strength was comparable to God's Son Yihong. After God's Son Yuanba appeared, he directly extended his right hand and grabbed at the middle-aged man. At the beginning, God's Son Yuanba's right hand was very small. However, as he continued to advance, his right hand became bigger and bigger. In the end, it even enveloped the middle-aged man. Shan, hand that thing to me. The middle-aged man looked up at God's son Yuanba's huge palm and hurriedly shouted at Mu Yinshan. "Here you go." Mu Yinshan did not have the slightest hesitation. She directly took out a round wooden rod and threw it to the middle-aged man. "Break for me." The middle-aged man grabbed the wooden rod and injected all his yuan qi into the wooden rod. Then he stabbed the rod through the air. Bang! When the wooden rod in the middle-aged man's hand collided with God's son Yuanba's palm, a crisp sound was heard. Then God's son Yuanba's palm rapidly shrunk and retracted. What kind of Dharma treasure is that? It can actually block God's son Yuanba's all-out attack. Oomph. What God's son Yuanba's all-out attack? In my opinion, God's son Yuanba only used 10% of his strength at most. That's right. God's son Yuanba is the peerless godson of the primordial demon sect. His strength is comparable to God's son Yihong. How can he not even block a broken wooden rod? The surrounding martial artists discussed animatedly. Most of the martial artists thought that God's son Yuanba only used 10% of his strength at most. However, as the person involved, God's son Yuanba's expression was extremely cold. He even couldn't help but tremble. Now, God's son Yuanba was a little regretful. A Dharma treasure that could block his attack had to at least be at the heavenly treasure level. Back then, he and God's son Yihong had discussed that he would go after Mu Yunshan's husband, Ning Hai, while God's son Yihong would deal with Mu Yunshan. The final distribution was also that Ning Hai would belong to him, while Mu Yunshan and everything on her would belong to God's son Yihong. Chapter 1996. Divine Son Yihong. What kind of Dharma treasure is that wooden stick? Although he regretted it, Divine Son Yuanba didn't lose his mind. He turned to look at Divine Son Yihong and asked, "Why don't I feel like it's a heavenly treasure?" "You're right. It's not a heavenly treasure." Divine Son Yihong nodded and said, "I still don't know what it's made of. How about this? Give me the wooden stick, and you can have Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan." Divine Son Yuanba rolled his eyes and suddenly said. Divine Son Yuanba's meaning was clear. He wanted the wooden stick and wanted it. As for Ning Hai, he didn't mind giving it up. After all, there was a war god body in a high-level plane. There was no need for him to bother with Ning Hai. "You really want that wooden stick?" Divine Son Yihong suddenly looked at Divine Son Yuanba and said with interest, "I could trade with you, but I hope you won't regret it later." "Regret? What a joke. I, Yuanba, have never regretted it." Divine Son Yuanba raised his eyebrows and said proudly, "Since you've given me the wooden stick, then you don't need to participate in the following battle. I can settle it myself." Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Divine Son Yuanba stomped the ground and rushed towards Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan. Divine Son Yuanba really wanted Ning Hai's wooden stick, so he started attacking crazily after discussing it with Divine Son Yihong. Take a step back. Ning Hai already knew Divine Son Yuanba would attack. He protected Mu Yinshan behind him and gripped the wooden stick tightly in his right hand, glaring at Divine Son Yuanba. Divine Son Yuanba was strong, but he had an extremely special wooden stick. The current situation was clear. With the stick in hand, the world was his. Yuanba fist. Divine Son Yuanba came to Ning Hai's side in the blink of an eye and punched at Ning Hai's head with violent essence chi. Divine Son Yuanba's punch was heavy. If Ning Hai was unlucky enough to be hit, he would die on the spot. After all, Ning Hai only had the power of 6 great paths, while Divine Son Yuanba had much more than him. Go! At the critical moment, Ning Hai waved the wooden stick in the air and collided with Divine Son Yuanba's fist. Bang! A crisp sound rang out as 2 figures retreated in unison. Poochie! Blood spurted out his mouth. Ning Hai's right hand tightly gripped the wooden stick. The violent tearing force caused blood to flow out of his perlicue. On the other hand, although Divine Son Yuanba had also retreated, he was clearly much better than Ning Hai. Hand over the wooden rod, and I can spare your worthless life. God's son Yuanba looked at Ning Hai coldly and said in a deep voice, "Otherwise, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Humph! If you have the ability, come and get it yourself." Ning Hai snorted coldly, not backing down at all. Although Yuanba Godson was very strong, Ning Hai had the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. He would definitely not be defeated in a short period of time. In Ning Hai's opinion, relying on the mysterious wooden stick, it would not be a problem for him to persist for a few minutes. Heaven's sins can be forgiven, but one's own sins cannot be forgiven. Divine Son Yuanba's eyes shot out a beam of light. Then, he stomped on the ground and charged forward once more. This time, Godson Yuanba was determined to snatch the mysterious wooden stick no matter what. Whoosh! What happened in front of the myriad devil ridge? Ningyu was not very clear. At this time, his right hand grabbed the white-robed old man and was currently rushing towards the myriad devil ridge at full speed. Ningyu's speed was very fast. As for the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the rest behind him, they had long disappeared without a trace. Faster, faster. As Ningyu was worried about Mu Yunshan's and Ning Hai's safety, he continuously increased his speed. Following the increase in speed, the white-robed old man faintly could not hold on anymore. Although the white-robed old man had peak half-step heaven immortal cultivation, he did not have the power of great Tao on his body. It could be said that under Ning Yu's horrifying speed, even martial artists who possessed a strand of the power of great Tao might not be able to persist, let alone the white-robed old man. If not for Ning Yu displaying his protective true essence to wrap around the white-robed old man, the white-robed old man would have long turned into nothingness at this time. Whoosh! After advancing at full speed for a period of time, Ning Yu suddenly stopped. Oh! Staring at the void in front of him, Ning Yu said coldly, "Old man, let me ask you, do you know?" The void split open and a young martial artist slowly walked out of the void. This young martial artist first stared at the white-robed old man. Then his eyes fell on Ning Yu. You also have a strand of the power of great Tao on you." The young martial artist stared at Ning Yu and asked, "When you came from the city of demons, did you see God Wu from the sacred divine palace?" The power of great Tao on Ning Yu could be fused or dispersed. At this time, he had fused all 6 strands of the power of great Tao together. Therefore, in the eyes of the young martial artist, he only had 1 strand of the power of great Tao. "You are looking for God Wu? Who are you then?" Ning Yu originally did not want to care about this young martial artist, but when he heard the young martial artist's words, he could not help but say, "Could it be that you are also from the sacred divine palace?" "Brat, wipe your dog eyes and take a look. I am God Ming from the sacred divine palace. My strength is much stronger than God Wu's. What do you want?" Before God Ming's words of praise for himself had even ended, his eyes widened and he said in surprise. Without a doubt, when Ning Yu heard that God Ming was from the sacred divine palace, he did not say a word and immediately decided to attack. Anyway, he and the people from the sacred divine palace were already incompatible like fire and water. When he saw the godson of the sacred divine palace again, he naturally would not hold back. "Brat, you are courting death." Looking at Ning Yu, who was rushing towards him, God Ming's eyes widened and he instantly shouted in anger. God Ming was very angry. The reason why he was angry was that any random person dared to attack him. "I'm going to turn your bones into dust." God Ming clenched his fists tightly and directly punched towards Ning Yu's head. Although the target of God Ming's punch was Ning Yu's head, Ning Yu's fist had already arrived in front of him. Helpless, he could only go up to meet it. "Kacha! Kacha!" In the next instant, an extremely clear sound rang out. Then, God Ming's body was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight to the ground. "Kacha!" The sound of his body hitting the ground rang out. Because both his feet landed on the ground, God Ming's legs broke on the spot. In addition, his fist was broken by Ning Yu, so at this moment, both his legs and hands were broken. "You better behave yourself." However, Ning Yu didn't stop there. Instead, he continued chasing after Zhang Xian. The great Tao energy in his body surged out and sealed God Ming firmly. Immediately after, Ning Yu grabbed God Ming with his left hand and the white-clothed old man with his right, flying straight towards the myriad devil ridge. From the moment Ning Yu attacked to the moment he defeated God Ming, it only took a total of a few seconds. Chapter 1997. They just went through a huge battle. Without a doubt, the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu had chosen to stop. Ning Lu's expression was solemn. One of them should be Ning Yu, and the other should be an expert with the power of a great Tao. That's right, the other person has 5 powers of great Tao. The human demon nodded. If I'm not wrong, the winner should be Ning Yu. The human demon's judgment was accurate. Although the human devil's strength had dropped a lot, he was still a Sky Immortal expert in his previous life, and a mid-stage Sky Immortal at that. Unless a martial artist had a special method to hide their aura, the human demon's perception could easily determine how many powers of a great Tao the other party had. Let's continue. The human demon and the others didn't stay in this area. They stomped on the ground and rushed forward. Buzz! Buzz! Not long after the human demon and the others left, a buzzing sound came from the void in the area. Then, a martial artist appeared. Godson Tianlong. Without a doubt, this martial artist was the peerless godson of the Heaven Secret sect. Godson Tianlong. I'm still one step too late. Godson Tianlong's expression was solemn. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the myriad demon ridge. Then, his figure flashed, and he rushed forward. Crack! As soon as Godson Tianlong disappeared, the void in the area he was in suddenly split open. 5 Fingers Immortal. The martial artist that appeared this time was none other than 5 Fingers Immortal. Since the 5-fingered Immortal believed that his 5-fingered sacred elixir had been taken away by God Tianlong, his target had been God Tianlong. He would go wherever Godson Tianlong went. Whoosh! The 5-fingered Immortal did not stay there for long. He turned into an afterimage and disappeared. At the same time, in front of the myriad demon ridge, huffed. Although Ning Hai had the mysterious wooden stick, Godson Yuanba was the top godson of the primordial demon sect. At first, Ning Hai could use the mysterious wooden stick to fight against Godson Yuanba, but as time passed, his decline became more and more obvious. In the end, Godson Yuanba seized the opportunity and punched Ning Hai in the chest. The huge force that came from his chest directly caused Ning Hai to fly out and heavily fall to the ground. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and Ning Hai's aura plummeted. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to hand over the wooden stick or not? Yuanba Godson took a step forward and said coldly, succeeding in one move. Pooh! Ning Hai stood up from the ground with difficulty and said fiercely, Even if I die, I will bite off a piece of your flesh. As Ning Haikao spoke, the blood of the divine battle body in his body started to burn wildly. Ning Hai and Ning Yu both had the war god physique. However, judging from the amount of war god's body blood that Ning Hai was burning, his war god's body awakening was much higher than Ning Yu's. The divine battle physique had its own unique methods, burning his blood to increase his strength. Boom! Ning Hai had just ignited a few drops of the god of war body's blood, and his aura began to rise crazily. Oh, I really want to see what kind of waves you can stir up. Yuanba Godson crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Ning Hai with interest. From Yuanba Godson's point of view, he had Ning Hai in the bag, which was why he appeared so calm. Because Ning Hai only increased his aura by burning his blood, his great Tao power would not increase. And the great Tao power in his body was several times more than Ning Hai. Unless Ning Hai could raise his aura to the heaven immortal realm, he would still be a lamb in his hands and could not stir up any waves. Kill. After burning more than half of the war god's body blood in his body, Ning Hai held the mysterious wooden stick and attacked again. Ning Hai was not a fool. He naturally knew that raising his aura at this time was not very useful, so he quietly transferred the energy from burning his blood into the mysterious wooden stick. The wooden stick was made of a special material and could absorb energy. After injecting a large amount of energy, Ning Hai could clearly feel that the mysterious wooden stick's power had increased by at least 10%. Insignificant skill. Facing Ning Hai, who was constantly charging at him, Yuanba God's son curled his lips and casually threw a punch. For this punch, Yuanba God's son used all his great Dao power. When fighting with Ning Hai previously, Yuanba God's son used 6 great Dao powers at most in order to snatch the mysterious wooden stick and not to kill Ning Hai. No matter what, Ning Hai did not belong to him, but to Yi Hong. But now, Yuanba God's son had decided to use all his strength to kill Ning Hai. As for Yi Hong, he would not think about it for the time being. I will kill Ning Hai. Seeing that Yuanba God's son had used all his strength, Yi Hong's eyes widened, and he could not help but scold. We agreed beforehand that Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan will belong to me, and that mysterious wooden stick will belong to you. Now that you're doing this, you're clearly breaking the promise. Yi Hong was very angry. However, even though he was angry, Divine Son Yi Hong was not going to get involved at this moment. After all, when Yuanba God's son went crazy, he was still somewhat fearful. I will settle the score with you later. Yi Hong glanced at Yuanba God's son coldly. Then his body moved and charged straight at Mu Yinshan. Yi Hong did not want to wait any longer. If he waited any longer, when Yuanba God's son was free, he would definitely attack Mu Yinshan. What he needed to do was to snatch Mu Yinshan before Yuanba God's son got the wooden stick. As for whether or not he should interfere, that would depend on the situation. What are you doing? Although Ning Hai was fighting with Yuanba God's son with the wooden stick, a part of his attention was on Mu Yinshan. Especially when he saw Yi Hong charging at Mu Yinshan, he was even more furious and wanted to force Yuanba God's son to retreat and rush over to help. However, how could Yuanba God's son give him this chance? You better surrender obediently, or both of you will die. Yuanba God's son punched at Ning Hai's head. Ding! Fortunately, at the critical moment, Ning Hai placed the mysterious wooden stick in front of his head and blocked Yuanba God's son's punch. If Ning Hai had not reacted in time, Yuanba God's son's punch alone would have been enough to make his head explode. Hee. If you want to blame someone, blame the Supreme Nine Purities Temple for not knowing what's good for you. Just because a few lousy godsons from high-level plane have descended, you do not listen to my orders. If that is the case, I can only kill everyone from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, then capture you for research. Godson Yi Hong chuckled and stared at Mu Yinshan. If you're smart, then obediently give up resisting. That way, perhaps you'll suffer less. Otherwise, I'll let you know why flowers are so red. Who do you want to let know why the flowers are so red? Chapter 1998. Who is it? The words that traveled into his ears made God Yi Hong's face darken to the extreme. Without a doubt, God Yi Hong had not discovered anyone coming. A martial artist that could hide from his powerful senses was either powerful or had a special concealment technique. Regardless of the situation, it made God Yi Hong furious. If it was powerful, he would definitely chop the other party into pieces. Only then could he vent the hatred in his heart. If it was a special concealment technique, then it was even more necessary to kill the other party. One had to know that special concealment techniques were extremely precious even in a high-level plane. Imagine a fight between two powerful martial artists. One didn't know the other party's cultivation level, but the other party knew everything about one's cultivation level. The disadvantage was instantly revealed. The person who will kill you. What responded to God Yi Hong was an indifferent voice. Humph, trying to be mysterious. God Yi Hong snorted coldly and then punched towards Mu Yinshan's head. Divine Prince Yi Hong's punch contained the power of 3 great paths. It was obvious that God Yi Hong wanted to use Mu Yinshan as bait to force the martial artist in the void to appear. After all, Mu Yinshan only had 2 great Dao powers. If the martial artist in the void didn't appear, Mu Yinshan would definitely die. Swoosh! Just as God Yi Hong's fist was about to land on Mu Yinshan's head, the void beside Mu Yinshan suddenly exploded. Then, a young martial artist appeared. It's you. Seeing the martial artist that suddenly appeared, God Yi Hong's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. Without a doubt, God Yi Hong knew the martial artist that suddenly appeared, and he was very familiar with him. God Ming. He was from the sacred divine palace. The the son of God Ming, who possessed the power of 5 great Taos. Are you courting death? God Yihong was furious. He thought God Ming was the martial artist that spoke just now. Woo woo woo. Seeing God Yihong's expression, God Ming hurriedly opened his mouth and wanted to say something. However, his throat was already sealed by Ningyu, causing him to be unable to make sound. God Yihong couldn't tolerate someone from the sect betraying him. Therefore, he changed the direction of his fist and punched towards God Ming. Bang! It was a powerful punch. Son of God Ming's head exploded on the spot. After exploding Son God Ming's head, God's son Yihong still wasn't satisfied. He executed his trump card and imprisoned Son God Ming's primordial spirit and power of the great Tao, destroying them as well. God's son Yihong was different from Ningyu and Zhao Rui. He couldn't devour the great path power of others. Therefore, he chose to destroy Son God Ming's power of the great Tao. Not good. Just as he killed God Ming, God's son Yihong realized that something was amiss and hurriedly retreated. However, God's son Yihong was only thinking of retreating at this moment, so he was obviously slower by half a beat. Beside him, a slightly thin figure suddenly appeared. After this martial artist appeared, without saying a word, he directly punched out. Chi-chi. The friction between his fist and the air produced a sizzling sound. Ningyu. This martial artist was none other than Ningyu. The reason why Ningyu did not attack at the first moment and chose to let Son of God Ming take the lead was not because he was afraid of Son of God Yihong, but because he wanted to save Mu Yunshan and attract the attention of Son of God Yuanba. Otherwise, even if he could heavily injure Divine Son Yihong, his mother Mu Yunshan and father Ning Hai would also meet with misfortune. Damn it! Godson Yihong had no choice but to stop. He clenched his right hand into a fist and clashed with the fist in front of him. Bang! The two fists collided, and an extremely crisp sound rang out. Then, Ningyu and Yihong both stepped back at the same time. After the attack, Ningyu's figure flickered and landed beside Mu Yunshan. As for God's son Yihong, he retreated to God's son Yuanba's side. As for Ning Hai, he took advantage of Yuanba God's moment of shock to come to Ning Yu's side with a mysterious wooden rod in his hand. Your strength. Ning Hai looked at Ning Yu with his mouth slightly agape and said in surprise. Ning Hai remembered Ning Yu very clearly. When he and Ning Yu separated, Ning Yu's cultivation was only at the human supremacy level. How long had it been? Judging from Ning Yu's attack, just now, Ning Yu's cultivation was at least at the peak of half-step heaven immortal level. Moreover, Ning Yu should also have the power of great Tao. Let's get rid of the trouble in front of us first. Ning Yu shook his head gently and asked, What's going on? Why are the people of Sacred Divine Palace and Yuanshi Demon sect chasing after you? It's all because of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Before Ning Hai could answer, Mu Yunshan pointed at the mysterious wooden rod in Ning Hai's hand and explained, God's son Yihong knew that the Supreme Nine Purities Temple had a mysterious wooden rod. In order to get the wooden rod, God's son Yihong massacred everyone in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Crack, crack. Hearing Mu Yunshan's words, Ningyu couldn't help but clench his fists. No matter what, Mu Yunshan was his mother in this life. And God's son Yihong massacred everyone in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. One could imagine how sad Mu Yunshan must be. After all, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple was the place where Mu Yunshan lived since she was young. Dad, Mom, don't worry. Today, both the people of Sacred Divine Palace and Yuanshi Demon Sect will die. Ningyu took a step forward, and his aura was suddenly unleashed. Rumble. Although Ning, you didn't use the power of Great Tao, the aura he emitted still made the martial artist in front of the 1,000 demons ridge tremble. Is this Mu Yunshan's son? That's right. He's Ningyu, Mu Yunshan, and Ning Hai's son. Isn't this too exaggerated? At such a young age, his cultivation has actually reached the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm. The peak of half-step heaven immortal realm is secondary. The most important thing is that he has the power of great Tao, and a lot of it. As Godson Yihong and Godson Yuanba chased after Mu Yunshan and Godson Yuanba chased after Ning Hai, Many people knew who Mu Yunshan and Ninghai were. Now, a martial artist suddenly appeared and forced God's son, Yi Hong, to retreat. Everyone was discussing this. Humph! Feeling the terrifying aura from Ningyu, God's son Yi Hong and God's son Yuanba snorted at the same time and responded. Without a doubt, God's son Yi Hong and God's son Yuanba released their aura and pressed towards Ningyu without holding back. 9 great Tao powers. Ningyu squinted his eyes and stared at God's son Yi Hong and God's son Yuanba. He thought to himself, if I was still at the great perfection of human immortal realm, my power of great Tao might not be a match for you two. But now that I am a peak of half-step heaven immortal, my power of great Tao has also experienced the power of great Tao. It shouldn't be too much of a problem to deal with the two of you. To be honest, ever since he advanced to the peak of half-step heaven immortal realm and experienced the baptism of the special power of thunder tribulation, even Ningyu didn't know how strong he was. Chapter 1999. Divine General Mighty Miracle. Go and capture Mu Yunshan. Divine Sun Yi Hong was obviously restless. He was fighting against Ning Yu's aura while ordering Divine General Mighty Miracle to capture Mu Yunshan. In Divine Sun Yi Hong's opinion, no matter how strong Ning Yu was, he wouldn't be able to protect Mu Yunshan and Ning Hai. However, Divine General Mighty Miracle had 5 great Tao powers. It probably wouldn't take much effort for Divine General Mighty Miracle to fight against Mu Yunshan. Divine General Nanwen, go and capture Ning Hai for me. Divine Son Yuanba ordered the middle-aged man behind him when he saw Divine Son Yi Hong ordering Divine General Mighty Miracle to attack. Divine General Nanwen was Divine Son Yuanba's follower. Relatively speaking, Divine General Nanwen had 1 more great Tao powers than Divine General Mighty Miracle. Divine General Nanwen had a total of 6 great Tao powers. Yes, after receiving Divine Son Yuanba's order, Divine General Nanwen leaped up and charged towards Ning Hai. Ningyu, I want to see if you really have 3 heads and 6 arms. After Divine General Nanwen and Divine General Mighty Miracle attacked, Divine Son Yuanba's lips curled up slightly. He stared at Ningyu and said with a sinister smile, "Don't worry, I won't kill your parents so easily. I will slowly kill them by dismembering their flesh piece by piece. Bang, bang." Before Divine Son Yuanba could finish his words, something unbelievable happened. Divine General Nanwen and Divine General Juling, who had just made a move, were sent flying on the spot and fell heavily on the ground, like dogs eating mud. What's going on? The sudden change not only surprised Divine Son Yuanba, but also Divine Son Yi Hong and the surrounding experts. Their mouths were slightly agape, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Buzz! Divine Son Yuanba didn't have to wait for too long. Then, the void split open and several martial artists appeared. The 2 martial artists at the front were Human Demon and Zhao Rui. Behind them were the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, Zhao Heng, and the others. Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, I'll leave those 2 fellows to you. After casually defeating Divine General Na Wan and Divine General Juling, Human Demon waved his hand at Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, saying, when devouring them, remember to be careful. Don't get hurt. Don't worry. Devouring these 2 small shrimps is not a problem at all. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu snickered, then rushed out in unison. Ever since he passed the Earth Immortal Tribulation, the Dark Emperor had awakened the memories of the Heaven-Swallowing Hound. His strength was comparable to a martial artist with the 6 Tao forces. As for Ning Lu, 6 dark golden branches grew out of his body. With the current strength of the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, even if Divine General Na Wan and Divine General Juling were not injured, they might not be their match. Moreover, Divine General Na Wan and Divine General Juling were already on the verge of death. Who are you people? Seeing that Divine General Na Wan and Divine General Juling were defeated in an instant, Divine Son Yi Hong's expression changed, and he shouted in a deep voice, "Why are you going against us? The people who will kill you." The human demon and Zhao Rui took a step forward and released their aura. Together with Ningyu, they crazily pressed towards Divine Sun Yihong and Divine Sun Yuanba. Crack, crack. Originally, Divine Sun Yihong and Divine Sun Yuanba could still fight against Ningyu Little. However, after the human demon and Zhao Rui attacked, they were instantly at a disadvantage. Moreover, it was an absolute disadvantage. Divine Sun Mo Ta, if you don't come out now, when are you going to? Divine Sun Yihong knew how powerful the human demon and Zhao Rui were. He immediately shouted towards the other side. Divine Sun Qinquan, hurry up and come out. Divine Sun Yuanba did not stay idle either. He shouted toward the void. Swoosh! Swoosh! Just as Divine Sun Yuanba and Divine Sun Yihong finished their words, the void trembled. Then 2 martial artists appeared and landed beside them. They were Divine Sun Mo Tua from the Demon's Restaurant and Divine Sun Qinquan from the Transformation God Sect. Mo Qinya, whom Ningyu had killed previously, was the deputy sect master of the Transformation God Sect. You don't have to say it. I will also attack. Divine Sun Qinquan stared at Ningyu as soon as he appeared. He said sinisterly, Ningyu killed our deputy sect master, Mo Qinya. Our Transformation God Sect is already irreconcilable with him. Ningyu is utterly devoid of conscience. He killed all the people of our Devil's Tavern in the City of Devils, and he even killed the demonic god's son. Our Devil's Tavern is absolutely irreconcilable with him. Divine Sun Mo Tuo's eyes were cold as he scolded. Until now, Divine Sun Yihong of the Sacred Divine Palace, Divine Sun Yuanba of the Primordial Demon Sect, Divine Sun Mo Ta of the Demon's Restaurant, and Divine Sun Qinquan of the Transformation God Sect. The top-notch divine princes of the 4 major forces all stood against Ningyu. Ningyu should be finished. I think so too. He offended the Sacred Divine Palace, the Primordial Demon Sect, the Demon's Restaurant, and the Transformation God Sect at the same time. Even a Heaven Immortal would not be able to survive. Since Ningyu dared to offend these 4 forces, do you think he has offended other forces as well? Swoosh! The last martial artist's words made everyone's heart skip a beat. They quickly looked at Ningyu. That's right. With Ningyu's strong performance, he might have offended other forces as well. Those who are not involved, please leave. Ningyu's gaze swept the surroundings as he spoke indifferently. Due to the appearance of Divine Sun Qinquan and Divine Sun Mo Ta, Ningyu and Divine Sun Yihong withdrew their auras tacitly. Ningyu knew very well that there were definitely more enemies in this area. Instead of waiting for him to be ambushed while fighting with Divine Sun, Yihong, and the others, he might as well call out all his enemies first. If Ningyu was alone, Ningyu would not have dared to do so. But now that Human Demon and Zhao Rui had appeared, he was full of confidence. After all, be a Human Demon or Zhao Rui, their combat abilities were similar to his. Whoosh! Ningyu's words directly caused the surrounding martial artists to step back one after another. It didn't take long for Ningyu's position to be completely empty. Still not coming out? Ningyu squinted his eyes and said to the void behind Divine Sun Yihong, Buzz. As soon as Ningyu said that, the void behind Divine Sun Yihong cracked and a young martial artist appeared. Divine Sun Gui Wu. Seeing the martial artist behind him, Divine Sun Yihong's expression changed, and he exclaimed. Divine Sun Yihong had no idea that there was a martial artist hiding behind him. At the moment, Divine Sun Yihong was still a little scared. If Divine Sun Gui Wu had attacked him secretly, he would have died for sure. One should know that Divine Sun Gui Wu was the peerless Divine Sun of Fallen Spirit's sect. Although he only had 9 great path powers, he was much stronger than him. Fallen Spirit's sect's counterpart in Immortal Spirit region was Corpse Sect. Corpse Sect was an orthodoxy of Divine Sun Gui Wu in Immortal Spirit region. Most of the martial artists in it were Divine Sun Gui Wu's servants. Your body is very strong. You should be able to make an excellent puppet. Chapter 2000. Ning Yu wasn't surprised by the appearance of the Divine Prince. Instead, he was very calm. Ning Yu moved his eyes away from the Divine Prince and looked to the other side. Did he notice me? Sensing Ning Yu's gaze, the Divine Prince, who was hiding in the sky, shuddered. He couldn't help but feel surprised. In fact, the Divine Prince had arrived not long after Ning Yu arrived. In other words, the Divine Prince had witnessed the fight between Ning Yu and Divine Prince Yihong. Although the Divine Prince thought that Ning Yu's strength was powerful, he wasn't too worried. In Tianlong's opinion, he was more powerful than Ning Yu. However, Ning Yu seemed to have noticed his presence, which made him look extremely serious. One had to know that his ability to conceal his aura was something that even some ordinary heavenly immortals might not be able to discover. The fact that Ning Yu could find him was enough to prove that Ning Yu was not simple. Was it just my imagination? The Divine Prince frowned, a bit confused, because Ning Yu's gaze didn't stay on him for too long before he turned to the other side. Another old man in another void space was just as confused as Divine Prince Tianlong. The five-fingered deity. The five-fingered deity had come with the Divine Prince. The five-fingered deity had wanted to kill the Divine Prince right away. However, there were many powerful cultivators in the Thousand Demons Ridge. The five-fingered deity was afraid that he would be surrounded, so he chose to wait. After all, everyone knew that he was a sky immortal. Once he was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. How dare you? While the Divine Prince and the five-fingered deity were confused, a cold snort was suddenly heard in the area. Without a doubt, the one who had snorted was the Divine Prince Gui Wu. The Divine Prince Gui Wu was extremely angry. Divine Prince Yi Hong from the Sacred Divine Palace, Divine Prince Yuanba from the Primeval Demon Sect, and Divine Prince Qianquan for the God Transformation Sect were all weaker than him. He thought that after he appeared, Ning Yu would definitely kneel and beg him for mercy, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Who would have thought that Ning Yu wouldn't even look at him? How could Divine Child Gui Wu endure such a situation? Whoosh! Therefore, after a cold snort, Godchild Gui Wu stomped his feet on the ground and charged forward. Chi-chi! Godchild Gui Wu did not hold back this time and used his full strength. He wrapped the power of 9 great paths around his wrist and blasted it out. Should we attack? Divine Prince Yi Hong frowned and asked after seeing Divine Prince Gui Wu attacking like a madman. There's no need. Let's wait a little longer. Divine Son Yuanba shook his head and said, Divine Son Gui Wu is very strong. Let him test out Ning Yu first. Actually, Ning Yu isn't our main opponent. Divine Prince Qianquan's face was solemn as he said in a low voice, Our opponents should be the old man and the young woman beside Ning Yu. Divine Prince Qianquan was very clear about this. The pressure that the human demon and Zhao Rui gave him was too great, even greater than the pressure that Ning Yu gave him. Therefore, Divine Prince Qianquan's attention was on the human demon and Zhao Rui from the beginning. As for Ning Yu, he would let Divine Prince Gui Wu deal with him. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Ning Yu and Divine Prince Gui Wu were fighting. The two fists collided in the sky and earth cracked. A small vortex appeared in the void. Whoosh! Whoosh! After the attack, Ning Yu and Divine Prince Gui Wu retreated several steps at the same time. Judging from the distance, Ning Yu's strength was on par with Divine Prince Gui Wu. However, as the person involved, Divine Prince Gui Wu knew very well. He was at a disadvantage in this attack. There's something strange about his Grand Dao power. Divine Prince Gui Wu stared at Ning Yu with a dark face. Divine Prince Gui Wu wasn't stupid. He knew that Ning Yu had used the Grand Dao power. However, Ning Yu had only used 1 Grand Dao power, and he had forced back 9 Grand Dao powers. Divine Prince Gui Wu had never heard of such a thing before. Did he merge the Grand Dao power? Suddenly, the Divine Son of Gui Wu seemed to have thought of something. His already ugly expression turned even colder. Theoretically, only a few peerless geniuses could merge the Grand Dao power. In mid-sized territories, even the top 3 martial artists on the longevity roll might not be able to do it. Divine Prince Gui Wu himself could merge the Grand Dao power, but he only managed to do so a little. The terrifying merging ability that Ningyu had displayed shocked him, because being able to merge the Grand Tao power meant that he could devour it. I must kill him and extract his memories. Divine Prince Gue Wu made up his mind to kill Ningyu and extract his memories. Devouring the Grand Tao power was too terrifying. Ordinary martial artists could only let the Grand Tao power increase as they wished, but they couldn't merge them. In other words, ordinary martial artists could only have 10 Grand Tao power at most before they reached the Sky Immortal level. Any more, and they would trigger the Sky Immortal Tribulation. But martial artists that could devour the power of the Great Path were different. They could compress the power of the Great Path, constantly compressing it so that they could maintain the power of the Great Path at 9 or even 10. Divine Prince Gue Wu, do you need our help? Divine Prince Yihong asked when he saw that Divine Prince Gue Wu had stopped attacking. You three watch over the others. Leave Ningyu to me. Divine Son Gue Wu turned around and glared at Divine Son Yihong. Then, he turned into a blur and disappeared in an instant. Buzz! As soon as Divine Prince Gue Wu disappeared, he reappeared in front of Ningyu. Another fist imbued with the power of the Great Path blasted toward Ningyu. Here you go. However, just as Ningyu was about to fight Divine Prince Gue Wu, Ninghai suddenly threw the mysterious wooden rod at him. Smack! Ningyu's mind stirred, and he hurriedly grabbed the mysterious wooden stick. Whoosh! As soon as he grabbed the mysterious wooden rod, Ningyu felt a terrifying suction force devouring the energy in his body. My mysterious wooden rod. Ningyu clearly didn't expect this. He quickly tried to throw the mysterious wooden rod away. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't throw it away. Ha die. Divine Prince Gue Wu couldn't help but laugh when he saw Ningyu trapped by the mysterious wooden rod. Oomph. Isn't it too early to be happy? Ningyu snorted. Then, he controlled the heavenly tribulation liquid in his storage ring and poured it into the mysterious wooden rod. Buzz! Buzz! As the heavenly tribulation liquid was poured in, the mysterious wooden rod vibrated slightly. Moreover, the vibrations became more and more obvious and intense. In the end, the mysterious wooden rod even broke free from Ningyu's control and attacked Divine Prince Gue Wu. This Chapter 2001. The reason Ningyu was confused was that he had injected the heavenly tribulation fluid into the mysterious wooden stick with the attitude of giving it a try. To his surprise, the heavenly tribulation fluid really worked. Ningyu could clearly see that there were two terrifying energies in the mysterious wooden stick. One of them was the heavenly tribulation fluid he had just injected into the wooden stick. The heavenly tribulation fluid only stayed in the mysterious wooden stick for a few seconds before turning into terrifying energy. The speed of the transformation shocked Ningyu. As for the other terrifying energy, Ningyu guessed that it was unique to the mysterious wooden stick. Neither of the two energies were weak. In terms of power, they could go up against a martial artist with 8 Tao powers. What the hell? Godson Gue Wu's face darkened as he looked at the mysterious wooden stick that kept charging at him. Godchild Gue Wu knew very well the power of the mysterious wooden stick. Ninghai, a martial artist with 5 Tao powers, could go up against Godson Yuanba head-on with the mysterious wooden stick. Now that the mysterious wooden stick was in Ningyu's hands, how could it be weak? Block it. But at this point, Godson Gue Wu could no longer back down. He wrapped all the power of the Great Path around his wrist and punched the mysterious wooden stick with a backhand. Swoosh! Swoosh! However, as soon as Godson Gue Wu punched, 2 cold rays shot out from the mysterious wooden stick. Left with no other choice, Godson Gue Wu punched again. Bang! Bang! 2 punches, 2 cold rays. 2 crisp sounds were heard. Arg! Then, the divine child Gue Wu screamed like a pig being slaughtered. My hand! Godson Gue Wu retreated quickly and looked at his left hand, screaming hysterically. Just now, Godson Gue Wu's right hand went against the energy of the heavenly tribulation fluid. His left hand went against the energy of the mysterious wooden stick. The result was obvious. Only one bone in Godson Gue Wu's right hand was broken, but his left hand was completely broken. SSS. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but gasp when they saw the godchild's miserable state. What exactly is that wooden stick? Why is it so strong? It should be a heavenly treasure. Divine Prince Gue Wu is the peerless divine prince of the fallen spirits sect. He has 9 Tao powers in his body. The wooden stick that can injure him must be at least a heavenly treasure, or even higher. Many martial artists discussed among themselves. Among them, the hearts of divine princes Yi Hong, Yuan Ba, and Qian Kuan sank to the bottom. Ning Yu didn't even make a move. He only used the mysterious wooden stick to injure Gue Wu Shitzi easily. If Ning Yu had the mysterious wooden stick, how powerful would he be? Do you still want to make a move? Divine Son Yi Hong approached Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Qian Kuan and asked in a low voice. No one who could become a peerless divine prince of a major force was a fool. Godson Yi Hong had already made up his mind. If he saw that the situation was not good, he would escape immediately. Although this was a little embarrassing, it was better than losing his life. We will definitely make a move, but not now. Divine Son Yuan Ba grunted. He was a little different from Divine Son Yi Hong. Divine Son Yuan Ba had a bad temper. It was impossible for him to be scared before the battle. We have to make a move. Divine Son Qian Kuan suggested solemnly. What I mean is to capture Ning Yu's parents and make Ning Yu hesitate. Good idea. Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong exclaimed at the same time. Divine Son Qian Kuan was right. As long as they could capture Ning Hai and Mu Yun Shan, Ning Yu would definitely hesitate. By then, wouldn't Ning Yu be able to do whatever he wanted? Divine Son Yuan Ba, go and stop that old man. Divine Son Yi Hong, go and stop that young lady. Divine Son Qian Kuan pointed to the human demon and Zhao Rui and said, Why us? Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong looked a little upset. Everyone knew that the human demon and Zhao Rui were extremely powerful. It was obviously a tough job to fight against the human demon and Zhao Rui. Because the two of you are stronger than me, Divine Son Qian Kuan said, and gave a reason that Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong couldn't refuse. Swoosh! Moreover, Divine Son Qian Kuan chose to act first and report later. Without waiting for Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong's agreement, he dashed towards Ning Hai. Damn it! Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong had no choice but to attack the human demon and Zhao Rui. Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, you two watch them. Seeing Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong approaching him, the human demon twisted his neck and ordered the Dark Emperor and Divine Son Yi Hong. Then, he dashed towards them. Swoosh! Zhao Rui didn't stay idle after seeing the human demon rush out. She also attacked. Although the human demon was strong, he couldn't defeat Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong by himself. After all, Divine Son Yuan Ba and Divine Son Yi Hong both had the power of 9 great paths. Boom. A great battle broke out. However, it was obvious that the battle here wasn't the main battlefield. On the other side, Ning Yu was already fighting with Divine Son Gue Wu with a mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Although Divine Son Gue Wu's left hand was broken, his strength didn't decrease too much. Who are you? Which faction are you from? Divine Son Gue Wu became more and more surprised as the battle went on. Divine Son Gue Wu had met many peerless geniuses in the high-level planes. It could be said that none of the geniuses Divine Son Gue Wu had met were as strong as Ning Yu. Divine Son Gue Wu suspected Ning Yu's identity. Chapter 2002. Humph. You're about to lose your life, and you're still thinking about your heavenly treasure. Ning Yu grunted and dashed out again with the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Hit the snake where it hurts, don't hold back. Ning Yu didn't want to give Divine Prince Gue Wu any chance. After all, Divine Prince Gue Wu had the power of 9 grand paths. A peerless genius like him would make you regret it if you gave him the slightest chance. I don't believe this broken wooden stick can still unleash such a powerful attack. Divine Prince Gui Wu threw away the broken heavenly treasure flying sword in his hand and chose to fight the mysterious wooden stick with his fist. Essence Chi, Grand Path Power, Soul Power, Primordial Spirit. Divine Prince Gui Wu transferred almost everything he could use to his right hand, because this attack was related to Divine Prince Gui Wu's life. If he blocked it, he could follow up with another attack and defeat Ningyu. If he couldn't, he would become Ningyu's prisoner and be at Ningyu's mercy. Block it. Divine Prince Gui Wu clenched his right fist and punched the mysterious wooden stick. Go! Ningyu knew the importance of this attack. The Grand Path power in his body surged and wrapped around the surface of the mysterious wooden stick, attacking together with it. Even though Ningyu knew this attack was important, he still didn't want to inject the Grand Path power into the wooden stick. After all, he could still remember the speed at which the Grand Path power absorbed the thunder liquid. What if the mysterious wooden stick couldn't absorb it? Who could he reason with? I wonder who will win between Ningyu and Divine Prince Gui Wu. Divine Prince Tian Long frowned in the air. Before Ningyu and Divine Prince Gui Wu fought, Divine Prince Tian Long thought highly of Divine Prince Gui Wu. But as the fight went on, Divine Prince Tian Long changed his mind and thought that Ningyu would win. However, because this attack was so important, Divine Prince Gui Wu had used almost all his trump cards, so Divine Prince Tian Long wasn't sure who would win. I must get the mysterious wooden stick. The five-fingered deity and godson Tian Long were focused on different things. He didn't care who would win between Ningyu and godson Gui Wu. All he cared about was the mysterious wooden stick in Ningyu's hand. As a Sky Immortal expert, Five-Fingered Immortal naturally knew how terrifying the mysterious wooden stick was. Although he wasn't certain of the quality of the mysterious wooden stick, he felt that it was at least at the peak of the heavenly treasure level. Moreover, it was extremely likely that it had reached the level of a dark treasure. After all, the mysterious wooden stick had easily split the Divine Prince's heavenly treasure in half. Under the watchful eyes of tens of thousands, the mysterious wooden stick collided with Godchild Gui Wu's right hand. Kacha! As soon as the two collided, a crisp sound rang out. Ah! Then, the divine child screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Without a doubt, this attack ended with the Divine Prince Gui Wu's defeat. Shio! Ningyu wasn't going to give the Divine Prince any chance. He dashed forward with the mysterious wooden stick in his hand and smashed it at the Divine Prince's head. Ningyu's goal was to kill the Divine Prince. As for the Grand Tao power inside the Divine Prince, Ningyu didn't think too much about it. It would be good if he could devour it, but he wouldn't be upset if he couldn't. Bang! Since the Divine Prince Gui Wu was fatally injured, he couldn't do anything about Ningyu's attack. The sound of the wooden stick hitting the Divine Prince's head echoed in the area. Even if I die, I'll drag someone down with me. The Divine Prince Gui Wu roared and was about to explode his Grand Tao power. Shio, shio, shio. However, as soon as the Divine Child Gui Wu unleashed the power of the Grand Tao in his body, a terrifying, devouring power came from the mysterious wooden stick before he could even self-destruct. Without a doubt, the 9 Grand Tao powers inside the Divine Prince Gui Wu's body were all devoured by the mysterious wooden stick. Gulp! Seeing the actions of the mysterious wooden stick, even Ningyu couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. It was extremely terrifying. What exactly was the mysterious wooden stick? First, he easily defeated Divine Prince Gui Wu. Then, he devoured Divine Prince Gui Wu's 9 Tao powers. That alone showed that the mysterious wooden stick was no weaker than a real heavenly treasure. Mom, where did you get this wooden stick? Ningyu turned to Mu Yunshan and asked as he watched the divine child of Gui Wu get devoured into a pile of skin. This mysterious wooden stick was left behind by your grandpa. Mu Yunshan thought for a while and said, Actually, when your grandpa left the mysterious wooden stick, he left behind a message. What message? Ningyu was confused. The peerless divine metal will sweep the world. Mu Yunshan said, The peerless divine metal? Ning Yu's eyes widened, and his face was filled with disbelief. He had fought with the wooden stick for so long, but he didn't know that it was actually made of divine metal and not wood. Bang! 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 While Ning Yu was still feeling ashamed of his ignorance, the battle on the other side was coming to an end. The human demon and Zhao Rui teamed up to fight against Divine Prince Yihong, Divine Prince Yuanba, and Divine Prince Qiankuan. It looked like an unequal confrontation, but in reality, the human demon and Zhao Rui had a crushing victory. Didn't you say you were going to catch Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan? Divine Prince Yuanba and Divine Prince Yihong struggled to get up from the ground and stared at Divine Prince Qiankuan. Why did you come back halfway? To be honest, Divine Prince Yuanba and Divine Prince Yihong were furious. The human demon and Zhao Rui didn't choose to attack Divine Prince Qiankuan. But who would have thought that Divine Prince Qiankuan would give up on Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan and fight against the human demon and Zhao Rui with them? Did you think I wanted to? Divine Prince Yuanba and Divine Prince Yihong were angry, but so was Divine Prince Qiankuan. Everything seemed to be proceeding in an orderly manner. Divine Prince Yuanba and Divine Prince Yihong worked together to stop the human demon and Zhao Rui. He went to catch Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan. But just as he was about to get close to Ning Hai, a terrifying pressure suddenly pressed down on him from the void. The pressure made Divine Prince Qiankuan's heart palpitate. A sky immortal. Divine Prince Qiankuan was absolutely right. Even if the martial artist who had released the pressure on him wasn't a sky immortal, it had to be an expert with 10 Dao powers. What should we do with them? The human demon glanced at Divine Prince Qiankuan and the other two, then looked at Ning Yu and asked, "Kill them." Ning Yu didn't hesitate at all. The only way to deal with such people was to kill them. As for controlling them, Ning Yu wouldn't do anything stupid. It was fine to control a martial artist like Divine Prince Wuji, who only had 1 or 2 Dao powers. But to control a martial artist with 9 Dao powers, unless Ning Yu's strength was doubled, it would only be a burden. You can't kill us. Chapter 2003. Do you really think you can break the seal in front of the Thousand Demons Ridge with just a few of you? Ning Yu glanced at Divine Son Qiankuan and said faintly, "You guys aren't the only ones here. After I kill all of you, there will be others who will be willing to break the seal in front of the Myriad Demons Ridge with me." Divine Son of Heaven's face darkened after hearing Ning Yu's words. He was even trembling all over. Anyone would be afraid in the face of death. Divine Son of Heaven was no exception. He desperately wanted to live on. "As long as you don't kill me, I can tell you a secret." Divine Son of Heaven secretly glanced at Divine Son Yihong and Divine Son Yuanba, and then said to Ning Yu using soul telepathy, "Oh, tell me about it." Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and asked. The reason why Ning Yu didn't choose to kill Divine Son of Heaven and Earth right away was because he knew that there were still a few peerless experts hiding in the void. He had just gone through a huge battle and was not at his peak condition. If he continued to fight, he would inevitably be injured. Therefore, he decided to wait and see. He would talk to Divine Son of Heaven and Earth while resting. Zhao Rui and the human demon did the same. They had already closed their eyes and started to rest. We are just the vanguard. There will be even more powerful martial artists coming later. Divine Son of Heaven took a deep breath and explained, the key to their arrival is a teleportation array in the Thousand Demons Ridge. Divine Son of Heaven continued after seeing that Ning Yu didn't say anything. According to the agreement, Divine Son Yihong and Divine Son Yuanba will be responsible for opening the teleportation array. The rest will be responsible for stopping the martial artists from entering the Thousand Demons Ridge. Ning Yu frowned and murmured, "Interesting. Can you let me go now?" Divine Son of Heaven asked carefully when he saw Ning Yu frown. Divine Son of Heaven thought that if he told Ning Yu such an important news, Ning Yu would let him go. However, Divine Prince Qiankuan had lost his mind. Even a 3-year-old child would not have such an idea. Divine Prince Qiankuan was the peerless divine prince of the God Transformation sect, but he was still confused. One had to admit that he must have been out of his mind. Kill Godson Yihong and Godson Yuanba, and I can let you go. Ning Yu's expression was indifferent, without the slightest trace of emotion. This divine son of heaven opened his mouth slightly. Apparently, he did not expect Ning Yu to ask him to do this. For a moment, Divine Prince Qianquan was in a dilemma. To be honest, in the battle just now, he was the one with the least injuries. With his current strength, it was not impossible for him to kill Divine Son Yihong and Divine Son Yuanba. However, he was a little worried. After all, what if Ning Yu still didn't let him go after he killed Yihong and Yuanba God? Wouldn't he become everyone's target then? Not only would he not survive, but he would also implicate the entire deity transformation sect. One should know that in a high-level plane, the deity transformation sect was just a small sect compared to the sacred divine palace and the primordial demon sect. As long as the sacred divine palace or the primordial demon sect sent a sky immortal, they could easily destroy the deity transformation sect. Dilemma. Divine Prince Qianquan was in a dilemma. It's fine if you don't want to. I won't force you. Ning Yu shrugged, indicating that he didn't care what Divine Prince Qianquan did. After all, his conversation with Divine Prince Qianquan was purely to kill time. All right, I'm willing. Ning Yu's words were like a thorn that stabbed into Divine Prince Qianquan's heart, making it hard for him to breathe. In order to survive, Divine Prince Qianquan immediately dashed out and launched a powerful attack at Divine Son Yuanba and Divine Son Yihong. Is your brain rusty? Divine Son Yuanba and Divine Son Yihong widened their eyes when they saw Divine Prince Qianquan rushing towards them. They would never have imagined that Divine Prince Qianquan would dare to attack them. After all, the deity transformation sect that Divine Prince Qianquan came from was just a small sect. I hope you don't blame me. Divine Prince Qianquan's face was fierce. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of Divine Son Yuanba and Divine Son Yihong. Divine Prince Qianquan clenched his fists and threw two punches. One was aimed at Divine Son Yuanba and the other at Divine Son Yihong. You're courting death. Divine Son Yuanba's eyes widened. He threw a punch and it collided with Divine Prince Qianquan's fist. On the other side, Divine Son Yihong also threw a punch. Crack, crack, crack. 3 crisp sounds rang out consecutively. Soon after, 3 figures were sent flying like kites with their strings cut. Ning Yu, do you think they'll play tricks? The human demon had already opened his eyes when Divine Prince Qianquan attacked. At that moment, the human demon stared at the battlefield and frowned. Each of them has 9 great path powers. I'm afraid something might happen. In fact, the human demon's worry wasn't unreasonable. If the 3 of them still had trump cards, the consequences would be unimaginable. It's fine. However, Ning Yu didn't care about the human demon's worries. After a few minutes of recuperation, he had completely recovered to his peak state. Moreover, the reason why Ning Yu was so calm was that the mysterious wooden stick had given him some feedback. In short, he could already use the mysterious wooden stick. The power of the mysterious wooden stick was self-evident. With the mysterious wooden stick in hand, Ning Yu was confident that he could fight against a martial artist with 10 great path powers. Your strength now. Seeing Ning Yu's confident look, Zhao Rui couldn't help but ask. Before Ning Yu fought with Divine Son Gui Wu, Zhao Rui felt that Ning Yu's strength should be able to fight against a martial artist with 9 great path powers. But now, Zhao Rui couldn't see through Ning Yu's strength. I'm not sure about the specifics. Ning Yu shook his head and said, but if I fight with Divine Son Gui Wu again, I should be able to defeat him easily. Run. While Ning Yu was still talking to Zhao Rui, what the human demon was worried about happened. Divine Son Qianquan, Divine Son Yuanba, and Divine Son Yihong immediately betrayed them and started running in 3 different directions. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 silhouettes left after images in midair and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Where do you think you're going? The human demon's expression changed when he saw Divine Son Qianquan and the others running away. He wanted to stop them. Let me. Ning Yu grabbed the human demon and waved the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh! 3 rays of cold light shot out of the mysterious wooden stick and into the air. Puffed, puffed, puffed. As soon as the cold light entered the air, the sound of 3 people spitting out blood was heard. Then, 3 figures fell from the void and landed heavily on the ground. Swoosh! Chapter 2004. This time, Ningyu did not intend to hold back. Since he had recovered to his peak, Ningyu would not allow Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others to continue messing around. Ningyu's idea was simple. He would first kill Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others, then slowly deal with the martial artists hiding in the void. Otherwise, he would have to take care of everything. Buzz. However, before Ningyu could reach Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others, the void shook. Then, an afterimage shot out from the void. Oh no! The sudden change caused the human demon and Zhao Rui's expressions to change. The 2 of them didn't think too much and hurriedly flashed out and blocked in front of Ningyu. At that moment, even a pig would know that the martial artist who came out of the void was targeting Ningyu. At that moment, Ningyu's attention was almost entirely focused on Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others. How could he spare any attention to deal with a martial artist in the void? Human Demon and Zhao Rui stopped the martial artist to buy time for Ningyu. After all, in their opinion, with Ningyu's current strength, killing the heavily injured Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others would be as easy as pie. Finally making a move. This time, Human Demon and Zhao Rui had obviously underestimated Ningyu. Although most of Ningyu's attention was on Divine Son, Qianquan, and the others, he still noticed the martial artist who came out of the void. Ningyu did not make a fuss just because a martial artist came out of the void. Instead, he looked a little serious. This was because Ningyu knew very well that there was more than one martial artist hiding in the void. The one who made a move now was not the strongest one. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Human Demon and Zhao Rui fought with the martial artist who came out of the void. The result was a little out of Ningyu's expectations. In just one move, Human Demon and Zhao Rui were sent flying. They spat out a mouthful of blood, and their auras began to drop. Crack! Crack! Kacha! Ningyu wanted to observe for a while longer and let the Human Demon and Zhao Rui hold on for a few more minutes. However, the current situation had put a stop to his plan of devouring Shindi, Qianquan, and the others. He smashed his rod 3 times on the heads of Shindi, Qianquan, and the others. 3 crisp sounds rang out consecutively. The heads of Divine Son Qianquan, Divine Son Yuanba, and Divine Son Yihong exploded on the spot. Without a doubt, the primordial spirits of Divine Prince Qianquan and the others, as well as the power of the Grand Path, were all sucked into the mysterious wooden stick. Xiao. As for Ningyu, he turned around and charged towards another battlefield. Humph! Merely 2 pieces of trash, and you're delusional enough to stop me. The Divine Prince of Tianlong was in high spirits at the moment. His strength wasn't something Divine Prince Gui Wu and Divine Prince Qianquan could compare with. In your next life, you'd better open your eyes wide before you act. There are some people you can't afford to offend. Godson Tianlong snorted, then lifted his right leg and kicked at the Human Demon and Zhao Rui. As the peerless Divine Prince of the Heaven's Secret Sect, Godson Tianlong had his pride. Since he had the Divine Fate Stone, the overall strength of the Divine Son of Tianlong was enough to compete with a martial artist with 10 Dao powers. Although the Human Demon and Zhao Rui were not weak, they would still be weaker than a martial artist with 10 Grand Path powers. Really. However, before Godson Tianlong's right leg landed on the Human Demon and Zhao Rui, he heard an indifferent voice. I've been waiting for you. Godson Tianlong's real target was obviously Ningyu. Therefore, as soon as he heard Ningyu's words, he immediately gave up on attacking the Human Demon and Zhao Rui and kicked at Ningyu with his right leg. Kill! Ningyu looked indifferent as he held the mysterious wooden stick and smashed it down. I knew you'd use the mysterious wooden stick. Seeing the mysterious wooden stick coming at him, the Divine Prince of Tianlong quickly stepped aside and retreated. The mysterious wooden stick could even break a heavenly treasure, let alone the right leg of God's son Tianlong. The god's son Tianlong knew his limits. He knew he couldn't withstand the mysterious wooden stick, so he chose to step back. No! As soon as the god's son Tianlong stepped back, Ningyu realized something was wrong. The reason was that Ningyu found that the body of the god's son Tianlong was becoming more and more illusory, luring the tiger away from the mountain. In a blink, Ningyu knew what the god's son Tianlong was up to. He attacked the human demon and Zhao Ruwei first to attract his attention and make him neglect Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan on the other side. Finally, he used the golden cicada, shedding shell, to move to the other side to catch Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan. Ningyu looked gloomy. This was his mistake. If the god's son Tianlong succeeded, he would be under the control of the god's son Tianlong. After all, he couldn't leave Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan alone. Swish! Swish! Just as Ningyu was doing his best to return the favor, two figures stood out. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. They had been protecting Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan. Now that the god's son Tianlong suddenly launched an attack, they had to defend with all their strength. Bang! Bang! However, no matter how much the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu used their trump cards, they were no match for the god's son Tianlong. Without any suspense, the two of them flew out on the spot and fell heavily to the ground. Swish! However, although the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu couldn't even withstand one attack, they bought enough time for Ningyu. Ningyu used his speed to the maximum and finally arrived before the god's son Tianlong caught Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan. Go to hell. Ningyu injected his essence chi into the mysterious wooden stick and smashed it at the god's son Tianlong's head. This, Ningyu's attack, made the five-fingered deity, who was hiding in the sky, open his mouth. He felt a great pressure. It was no exaggeration. Even the five-fingered deity might not be able to withstand Ningyu's attack. I have to get the mysterious wooden stick. The five-fingered deity's desire to get his hands on the mysterious wooden stick became even stronger. Until now, the five-fingered deity could basically confirm that the mysterious wooden stick was at least a half-mystic treasure. There were two types of half-mystic treasures. One had Shin deity Dharma laws in its body, while the other was as hard as a mystic treasure. Regardless of what sort of situation it might be, the mysterious wooden stick's enticement to the five-fingered immortal was simply unprecedented. However, the five-fingered deity wasn't as stupid as the god's son Tianlong, so he wouldn't act like a fool. He was stronger than the god's son Tianlong, so he could see more clearly than the god's son Tianlong. There were many powerful figures hiding in front of the Thousand Demons Ridge. Why didn't the real big shots make a move? Instead, they let Divine Prince Qinquan and Divine Prince Gui Wu mess around. Apparently, everyone was restraining each other. No one wanted to act rashly without absolute confidence. After all, if they failed, they might end up helping others. No one wanted to do this kind of business that was sure to lose money and no profit. Crack! On the battlefield, at the most dangerous moment, the god's son Tianlong moved his body slightly and dodged Ningyu's fatal attack. Chapter 2005. Crack! 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 You're dead. No one in this world can save you. God Prince Tianlong patted his chest with his right hand, and all the broken ribs were reconnected. God Prince Tianlong stared at Ningyu and said coldly, "This day next year will be the anniversary of your death." As soon as he said that, God Prince Tianlong dashed out again. But this time there was a flying sword in his hand, a heavenly treasure. There was no doubt that God Prince Tianlong, as the peerless divine prince of the Heaven Secret sect, would have a heavenly treasure flying sword. With the silver heavenly treasure flying sword in hand, God Prince Tianlong was in high spirits, thinking that he could fight against Ningyu. However, it turned out that God Prince Tianlong was overthinking. His heavenly treasure flying sword was broken in half as soon as it clashed with Ningyu's mysterious wooden stick. STDH. This change caused the surrounding martial artists to gasp once again. The second heavenly treasure. By then, the mysterious wooden stick had destroyed 2 heavenly treasures. By then, the mysterious wooden stick's position in people's hearts had skyrocketed. I want you to die. The destruction of the heavenly treasure flying sword was within God, Prince Tian Long's expectations. With a thought, he took out the Tianji stone on the spot. Every martial artist of the Heaven Secret sect had a Heaven Secret stone. The higher one's status in the Heaven Secret sect, the more Heaven Secret stones they had, and the higher their quality would be. As the peerless divine prince of the Heaven Secret sect, God Prince Tian Long had 7 Heaven Secret stones in total. Furthermore, the colors of the 7 heavenly fortune stones were different: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple. Among the 7 colors, the red Heaven Secret stone was the weakest, while the purple one was the strongest. Crack! God Prince Tian Long threw the red Heaven Secret stone into his mouth and started chewing. In a blink, the red Heaven Secret stone was swallowed by God Prince Tian Long and completely refined. Buzz! After refining the red Heaven Secret stone, God Prince Tian Long's energy surged again. Although there were still only 9 grand path powers in his body, the strength of the divine prince of Tian Long had more than doubled. Go to hell! God Prince Tian Long clenched his right fist and punched at Ningyu. You won't give up until you're dead. Looking at the fists raining down on him, Ningyu's face turned cold. He raised the mysterious wooden rod in his hand to meet the fists. Bang! The two collided. This time, what everyone expected did not happen. Divine Prince Tian Long only took a few steps back, and his right fist was still fine. God Prince laughed. The divine prince threw his head back and laughed. I was wondering what your broken wooden stick was. Now it seems like it's just a slightly more powerful heavenly treasure. The divine prince of Tian Long was very confident. He rushed out again, clenched his right hand into a fist, and fiercely punched the mysterious wooden stick. The divine prince's fist wasn't damaged after that attack, so he didn't think the mysterious wooden stick was that powerful. In the second move, the divine prince didn't attack Ningyu, but the mysterious wooden stick. The god. Chun Tian Prince Tian Chun King God. Chun simple. God. He Prince Tian Long, however, dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. Ningyu's face was expressionless as he waved the mysterious wooden stick in his hand again. Crack! Arg! 2 sounds were heard. The first one was the sound of bones breaking. The second one was the sound of God Prince Tian Long screaming like a pig being slaughtered. Apparently, God Prince Tian Long was wrong. The reason why he was able to block the first attack of the mysterious wooden stick was entirely because Ningyu had chosen to hold back and only used 10% of the mysterious wooden stick strength. After all, there were many powerful cultivators hiding in the sky. Ningyu didn't want to expose his real strength. 20%. Ningyu had only used 20% of his power to break God Prince Tian Long's right fist. Even though God Prince Tian Long's right fist was still connected to the bone, it wasn't far from breaking. Heal! God Prince Tian Long didn't give up. He crushed the second divine fate stone and sprinkled the powder on his broken fist. Crack, crack, crack! After a while, God Prince Tian Long's broken fist was completely healed. This is interesting. Ningyu frowned slightly. He was interested in the remaining heaven fate stones of the divine prince of Tian Long. God Prince Tian Long had used 2 of the 7 divine fate stones, so there were only 5 left. Ningyu didn't want God Prince Tian Long to squander like this anymore. He decided to take the initiative and get the remaining 5 divine fate stones first. Whoosh! Ningyu was an impatient person, so he did what he said. His body flashed, and before God Prince Tian Long could react, he had already arrived in front of God Prince Tian Long and smashed the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Oh no! God Prince Tian Long had no choice but to swallow the 3rd divine fate stone with his eyes wide open. After swallowing another divine fate stone, God Prince Tian Long's energy had reached its peak. His body bulged and swelled. Those who didn't know better would think that God Prince Tian Long was going to explode. Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist. The divine prince of Tian Long bit his lips and performed the most powerful move he could at the moment. Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist. The Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist was a fist technique that God Prince Tianlong had learned in a cave. It wasn't called the Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist, but the Heavenly God Divine Fist. There were 3 moves in the Heavenly God Divine Fist. The first move was the Heavenly Tiger Divine Fist. The second move was the Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist. The third move was the Heavenly God Divine Fist. The power of each punch was different. It was no exaggeration to say that this punch from Godson Tianlong was enough to kill a martial artist with 10 great path powers easily. Ningyu won't be in danger, right? Even Zhao Ruwei and the human demon were shocked after feeling the terrifying power in God Prince Tianlong's fist. One of them was a sky immortal overlord, and the other was from a powerful force in an advanced realm. Even they felt that this move was terrifying, so one could only imagine how powerful it was. He is indeed the peerless divine prince of the Heaven Fortune sect. This kind of opportunity is indeed enviable. The 5-fingered deity in the sky was shocked. To be honest, even he was a bit jealous of God Prince Tianlong's luck. The 5-fingered deity knew very well that if he mastered the Heavenly God Divine Fist, his combat power would increase by 10%. Of course, the 5-fingered deity's combat power wouldn't increase by 10% now, but when he was at his peak, why get the mysterious wooden stick? I will take it along with this fist art. The Heavenly God Divine Fist was one more item on the 5-fingered deity's list. Humph! The Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist is just like a chicken or a dog in front of me. Ningyu snorted coldly and increased his strength again. From the previous 20%, it became 30%. How powerful would an attack with 30% of his strength be? In a blink of an eye, Ningyu held the mysterious wooden stick and dashed forward. Haha, it's useless. Even a sky immortal might not be able to withstand my Heavenly Dragon Divine Fist. The Divine Prince looked at Ningyu and laughed. However, Tianlong Divine Prince's laughter stopped abruptly before he could even finish. Chapter 2006. Bang! Ningyu put away the mysterious wooden stick, looked at Godson Tianlong, and said, "Nothing is impossible." Impossible? This is absolutely impossible. I must be hallucinating. Godson Tianlong looked down at his swollen fist and roared like a madman. I'm going to turn you into ashes. Godson Tianlong had already lost his mind. Indeed, the Sky Dragon Divine Fist was very powerful. Godson Tianlong could use it to kill a martial artist with 10 Grandao powers. However, such a terrifying Sky Dragon Divine Fist was easily blocked by Ningyu's mysterious wooden stick. Godson Tianlong thought he had overestimated the mysterious wooden stick, but it seemed that he had underestimated its power. Sky God Fist. Godson Tianlong decided to use the third punch, the Sky God Fist, regardless of the condition of his body. Originally, it would have been difficult for Godson Tianlong to use the Sky God Fist. However, Godson Tianlong had made up his mind. He burned his blood essence, life force, essence chi, and soul power. All in all, Godson Tianlong was using the Sky God Fist at all costs. Rumble. Compared to the Sky Dragon Divine Fist, the Sky God Fist was at least twice as powerful. Suddenly, the void trembled and waves of energy spread. Gasp! Feeling the terrifying energy from Godson Tianlong's fist, the human demon, Zhao Ruwei, and even the 5-fingered deity, who was hiding in the void, couldn't help but gasp. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. Godson Tianlong's punch, in a sense, already had the ability to threaten a Sky Immortal. Sky Immortal Dharma laws. Real Sky Immortals didn't just go through the Sky Immortal tribulation. It could be said that every single Heavenly Immortal Realm expert possessed one or a few Heavenly Immortal laws. The difference between Sky Immortal laws and Grandao powers was that Grandao powers had to be transformed into Sky Immortal laws. Besides, not every Grandao power could be transformed into Sky Immortal laws, so there were many steps to go through. The Sky Dragon Divine Fist is so terrifying. I must get it no matter what. The five-fingered immortal, who was in the void, was so excited that he nearly showed himself. After all, the shock that the heavenly dragon divine fist gave him was too great. It was even greater than the shock that the mysterious wooden stick in Ning Yu's hand gave him. I wonder if the mysterious would can withstand the punch of God Sun Tian Long this time. The five-fingered immortal shifted his gaze toward the battlefield. Ning Yu looked serious. After all, he could see the terrifying power of God Sun Tian Long's punch. If he did not use the mysterious wooden stick, it could be said that Ning Yu would not be able to block the attack of the heavenly dragon divine fist. The current situation was that Ning Yu had no choice but to use the mysterious wooden stick and increase its power from 30% to 50%. Because only in this way could Ning Yu block the attack of the heavenly dragon divine fist with 100% certainty. The power of law. God Sun Tian Long continued to roar. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched toward Ning Yu's head with a terrifying essence chi wind. A punch without the power of law was already enough to make Ning Yu's head explode. One could only imagine how powerful a punch with the power of law would be. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death, God Sun Tian Long said as he rushed toward Ning Yu. In the blink of an eye, God Sun Tian Long appeared next to Ning Yu and punched Ning Yu's head with the power of law. Ha ha! This time, your head won't. God Sun Tian Long raised his head and laughed crazily as soon as he punched. However, the divine prince of Tian Long stopped halfway through his laughter. There was only one reason. Ning Yu had used the mysterious wooden stick. Even though God Sun Tian Long was very confident, he couldn't help but want to retreat under the power of the mysterious wooden stick. However, for God Sun Tian Long, the arrow was already on the bow and he had to release it. God Sun Tian Long didn't think too much. His right fist collided with the mysterious wooden stick. Crack! The result of the collision was just as everyone had expected. God Sun Tian Long's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Bang! God Sun Tian Long was at a complete disadvantage in this fight with Ning Yu. Swallow it! God Sun Tian Long didn't give up. He took out the remaining 4 divine fate stones and tried to swallow them all. Oh no! God Sun Tian Long's action made Ning Yu's expression change. Ning Yu knew very well how powerful the divine fate stones in God Sun Tian Long's body were. God Sun Tian Long had swallowed 3 divine fate stones, and his power had increased a lot. If he were to devour the remaining 4 heaven fortune stones, to what extent would his strength increase? In Ning Yu's opinion, he would at least be able to compete with the mysterious wooden stick. The divine fate stones are a complete waste in your hands. Give them to me. With that thought, Ning Yu rushed out again with the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Ning Yu was determined to get the 4 divine fate stones in God Sun Tian Long's hands. Whoosh! However, Ning Yu's expression changed before he reached God Sun Tian Long. That was because he saw that the sky next to the divine prince of Tian Long suddenly cracked open and an old man came out of it. The five-fingered deity. There was no doubt that the old man who came out of the void was the five-fingered deity. Ning Yu knew how terrifying the divine fate stones were, and so did the five-fingered deity. The five-fingered deity's idea was simple. First, he would get the divine fate stones from God Sun Tian Long. Then he would devour God Sun Tian Long's memory and master the cultivation method of the heavenly God Fist. Finally, he would find a chance to control Ning Yu and obtain the mysterious wooden stick. Of course, the five-fingered deity wouldn't force Ning Yu if he couldn't control him. After all, there were many powerful figures watching from the void. The goal of the powerful figure in the void was clear. He didn't want the divine fate stones or the cultivation method of the heavenly God Fist. He only wanted the mysterious wooden stick in Ning Yu's hand. Oomph. You want to take the divine fate stones from me? Let's see if you have what it takes. Ning Yu was not a soft persimmon that anyone could bully. On the contrary, he was very confident with the mysterious wooden stick in his hand. Although the five-fingered deity was a few times more powerful than God Sun Tian Long, Ningyu still rushed forward without hesitation. Oomph. You overestimate yourself. The five-fingered deity snorted as he sensed Ningyu rushing toward him. Wait for me to finish off God, Sun Tianlong first. Later. No. However, before the five-fingered deity could finish his words, his eyes widened as if he had discovered something unbelievable. He didn't notice anything because he was too far away from Ningyu. But now he was very close to Ningyu. Chapter 2007. You stole my five fingers alchemy cauldron and destroyed my five fingers divine elixir. The five-fingered deity stared at Ningyu with his eyes wide open. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling. He had thought that Tianlong was the culprit. Who would have thought that the culprit was still Ningyu? Under such circumstances, the five-fingered deity was naturally enraged. However, although the Five Fingers Immortal was furious, he did not have the time to find Ningyu to settle the debt. After all, his target was the four divine fate stones in Tianlong's hands. I'll deal with you later. The five-fingered deity glanced at Ningyu and clenched his right hand into a fist. He punched toward divine Prince Tianlong's head with a raging essence chi. Bang! The five-fingered deity's punch was extremely powerful. Even though Tianlong tried his best to block it, he was still unable to block the fatal punch. A crisp sound was heard. Then, Godson Tianlong's head exploded on the spot, and blood splattered everywhere. They're all mine. The five-fingered deity used his terrifying soul energy to devour Tianlong's memories. At the same time, he clenched his right fist and grabbed the four divine fate stones that were falling to the ground. He had devoured Tianlong's memories to obtain the cultivation method of the heavenly god fist. The five-fingered deity was not a fool. He knew that he would only be the biggest winner if both sides attacked at the same time. How could there be such a good thing in this world? Ningyu's cold voice was heard as the five-fingered deity was about to grab the divine fate stones. Swoosh! The mysterious wooden stick in Ningyu's hand was like a sharp flying sword that slashed at the five-fingered deity's palm. It was obvious that the five-fingered deity's palm would be broken if he was hit by the stick. Damn it! Helpless, the five-fingered immortal cursed in his heart and gave up on the fight for the heavenly fate stone. The reason why the five-fingered immortal had given up on the heaven fate stone wasn't because he was afraid of Ningyu, but because he had sensed a few powerful auras in the air a moment ago. There was no suspense. If he dared to snatch the heaven secret stone from Ningyu, the cultivators hidden in the void would definitely make their move. I'll settle the score with you after we enter the myriad demon ridge. After giving up on the fight for the divine fate stone, the five-fingered immortal quickly devoured all of the heaven dragon god's memories. He left behind some harsh words before disappearing into the void. Who? Seeing the five-fingered immortal disappear, Ningyu could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Truth be told, even though Ningyu was wielding the mysterious wooden stick, he still felt immense pressure when facing the five-fingered immortal. If divine Sun Tianlong had one sky immortal Dharma law, then five-fingered immortal would have at least 3 or even 5 sky immortal Dharma laws. Whoosh! Keeping the heaven's fate stone, Ningyu leaped up to the human devil's side. Ningyu did not beat around the bush and asked directly, Senior Human Devil, can you use the sky immortal Dharma laws? The human devil shook his head and said, I can only use 6 great Tao powers now. When I can use 10 great Tao powers, I should be able to unlock one sky immortal Dharma law. I see. Ningyu frowned slightly and fell in a deep thought. He had originally thought that with the mysterious wooden stick, his strength could be ranked in the top 3 in the Myriad Demon Ridge, or at least in the top 5. However, it seemed that he had been overthinking things. His current overall strength could contend with a cultivator with 10 great Tao powers, or he could even kill one with ease. However, it would be much more strenuous for him to face an expert with sky immortal Dharma laws. Perhaps the mysterious wooden stick had not been completely unsealed, so it could not unleash its full strength yet. However, all of this had nothing to do with the current Ningyu. What he had to face were the super experts with 10 great Tao powers and sky immortal Dharma laws. After entering the Myriad Demon Ridge, I have to think of a way to get a few more great Tao powers. Ningyu immediately sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. Since everything that needed to be done was done, what he had to do next was to quietly wait for the Myriad Demon Ridge to open. As for Ning Hai and Mu Yun Shan, Ningyu secretly sent a soul message to them, asking them to temporarily cultivate like him. At this time, it was a competition of endurance, a competition of who could keep their composure. Ningyu knew that someone was watching him, and he also knew that this area had formed a crucial balance point. Now, everyone was waiting for someone to break this balance point. Of course, unless it was an unparalleled expert, no one would dare to break this balance point. Because once someone broke the balance, then that person would instantly become the target of everyone's attack, the target of everyone's crusade. Drip, drip. Time passed by the minute and second. The experts who had just avoided the battle gradually returned to the front of the Myriad Demon Ridge, each occupying a small area. After Ning used disturbance, the originally noisy front of the Myriad Demon Ridge became very quiet. It was so quiet that one could even hear the sound of breathing. Divine Son Tianlong is indeed the peerless divine son of the Heaven Fortune sect. His Heaven Fortune stone is indeed different. Although Ningyu was cultivating in secret, that was not the case. His attention had already been focused on the storage ring, and he had begun to check the 4 Heaven Fortune stones of Divine Son Tianlong. There were 7 colors of Heaven Fortune stones: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. The first 3 colors had already been used by Divine Son Tianlong. The remaining 4 colors were lost under the joint attack of Ningyu and the 5-fingered immortal before Divine Son Tianlong could use them. If I devour these 4 Heaven Fortune stones, my combat power should increase by a few times. Ningyu was very clear about this. Originally, the mysterious wooden stick was his trump card. Now, the 4 Heaven Fortune stones in the storage ring had become his trump card. Let's erase the mark on them first. Ningyu didn't celebrate too early. With a thought, he used his soul power to erase the imprints on the 4 Heaven Fate stones. Fortunately, Divine Son Tianlong had already been killed. Even his primordial spirit and memory were not spared. Otherwise, Ningyu would have to go through a lot of trouble to erase the mark on the Heaven Fortune stones. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After around 3 minutes, with 4 sizzling sounds, Ningyu had completely erased the mark on the Heaven Fortune stones. In other words, Ningyu could now use these 4 Heaven Fortune stones without any worries. Rumble. As soon as Ningyu erased the mark on the Heaven Fortune stones, the seal of the Myriad Demon Ridge let out a rumbling sound. Everyone attack the seal together. We must break the seal within 3 hours. Along with the rumbling sound, a deep voice could be heard. This, even though Ningyu was prepared, his pupils couldn't help but constrict when he heard the powerful voice. His expression became extremely solemn. Chapter 2008. Could it be that the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm has completely shattered? Ningyu was shocked, and his face was solemn to the extreme. Due to the existence of the plane barrier, it was impossible for sky immortals to descend into the immortal spirit realm. Apart from sky immortals, those who had yet to become sky immortals but possessed many sky immortal laws couldn't descend into the immortal spirit realm either. However, Ningyu was almost certain that the martial artist who made the noise had at least 5 or even 8 sky immortal laws. No wonder the 5-fingered immortal didn't dare to cause trouble. Ningyu frowned slightly as he shielded Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan behind him. If necessary, Ningyu would let them enter the storage ring. After all, the Myriad Demon's Ridge was extremely dangerous, and his father Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan weren't very strong. It could be said that letting Ning Hai and Mu Yinshan enter the Myriad Demon's Ridge was sending them to their deaths. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was pondering, the crowd in front of the Myriad Demon's Ridge began to attack the seal in a frenzy. Everyone had gathered here from all over the place with only one goal, and that was to enter the Myriad Demons Ridge and fight for the opportunity. There was only one way to enter the Myriad Demons Ridge, and that was to work together to break the seal. Otherwise, no one would be able to enter. What should we do? The human demon asked with a frown as he watched the surrounding martial artists attack the seal. Ningyu thought for a moment before saying, "Attack, but do your best to preserve your strength." Ningyu wasn't a hothead. He wasn't going to oppose everyone, but he wasn't going to attack the seal with all his might. Right now, he was the focus of many experts, and the mysterious wooden stick in his hand made many salivate. If he expended too much strength before entering the Myriad Demons Ridge, he might not even be able to enter the Myriad Demons Ridge. Of course, since he had decided to attack, Ningyu might as well explain everything. His parents, Ning Hai, and Mu Yunshan all entered the storage ring. Zhao Heng and a few other martial artists also entered the storage ring. That was to say, on Ningyu's side, only Human Demon, Zhao Rui, Dark Emperor, and Ning Lu's group were left. The reason why Ningyu chose to keep them was because they had the ability to protect themselves. Needless to say, Human Demon and Zhao Rui were both extremely powerful. Although he could not contend against a cultivator with 10 strands of Great Tao energy, he could still contend against and even kill a cultivator with 9 strands of Great Tao energy. As for the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, they were not very strong. They could fight against warriors with the power of 6 Great Taos. Take these Heaven's Fate Stones. After much consideration, Ningyu finally decided to give the Heaven Fate Stone to the human demons. He had the mysterious wooden rod in his hand, and if he encountered an expert who possessed the laws of the heavenly immortal, he would at least be able to contend against them. As for the human devil and the others, once they encountered an expert that possessed a heavenly immortal law, only death awaited them. Therefore, Ningyu gave them the Tianji stone after careful consideration. "I don't need it." However, to Ningyu's surprise, Zhao Rui did not ask for the Heaven Fate Stone. Since Zhao Rui did not want it, Ningyu naturally would not force her. After all, he needed the Heaven Fate Stone too. After distributing the Heaven Fate Stones, Ningyu charged out and began attacking the seal in front of the 10,000 Demons Ridge. The human demon and Zhao Rui did not stay idle either. They followed behind Ningyu and began attacking the seal. They really think highly of me. Although Ningyu seemed to be attacking the seal with all his might, he was actually paying close attention to his surroundings. Moreover, with Ningyu's extremely keen perception, he could naturally notice that there were a total of 5 martial artists' attention fixed on him. 5 cultivators. Each of them was no weaker than the 5-fingered immortal. Interesting. When we enter the 10,000 Demons Ridge, the 2 of you will be in charge of following Ningyu. Once you have the chance, snatch the mysterious wooden rod from him. In the void, the cultivator who spoke with a deep voice earlier grinned and said calmly, "Buzz." The only response he got was a trembling sound from the space beside him. Drip, drip, drip. Time passed by slowly. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Crack! With everyone's concerted efforts, the seal in front of the 10,000 Demons Ridge finally broke. Charge! All the treasures inside are mine. You better get lost. My talent and strength are higher than yours. The treasures inside the 10,000 Demons Ridge should belong to me. Both of you are trash. A mere half-step heavenly immortal with no great path energy dares to behave atrociously here. As soon as the seal broke, all the cultivators in front of the 10,000 Demons Ridge rushed out. They were afraid that they would not be able to enter the 10,000 Demons Ridge if they were too late. The cave entrance was only so big. There had to be an order of arrival. Therefore, the first batch of cultivators who rushed to the cave entrance began to fight. In just a few seconds, dozens of cultivators had died in front of the Myriad Demon Ridge's cave entrance. Although they knew that it was very dangerous ahead, some cultivators with low cultivation still charged forward without fear of death. After all, in front of a great opportunity, everyone wanted to risk their lives. As long as they were lucky enough to enter the 10,000 Demons Ridge, they would have a great chance to obtain the Great Path energy and become a heavenly immortal. Haha, I'm going in first. Oomph. Don't fight with me. I'll kill whoever fights with me. So what if you guys enter the 10,000 Demons Ridge? You're still trash. The chaotic battle continued. As there were many cultivators, after a few minutes of chaotic battle, someone finally began to break into the 10,000 Demons Ridge. Moreover, as time passed, more and more cultivators entered the 10,000 Demons Ridge. Half an hour later, dozens of cultivators entered the 10,000 Demons Ridge. Should we go in? Seeing so many people entering the 10,000 Demons Ridge, the Dark Emperor's eyes shone as he looked at Ningyu and asked, "Silly." Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor and said in a deep voice, "Didn't you notice? Until now, no cultivator with Great Path energy has entered the 10,000 Demons Ridge." This, hearing Ningyu's reprimanding words, coupled with the Dark Emperor looking at the many cultivators in the chaotic battle, he could not help opening his mouth slightly, stunned on the spot. Ningyu was right. Until now, most of the cultivators who entered the 10,000 Demons Ridge were around peak half-step heavenly immortal. All the cultivators with Great Path energy were all watching. No one wanted to enter the 10,000 Demons Ridge a step earlier. "Ningyu, what did you see?" Zhao Rui's brows furrowed tightly as she asked. "If I didn't guess wrongly, these people are all cannon fodder." Ningyu looked at the cave entrance in front of the 10,000 Demons Ridge and said in a deep voice, "To be precise, this cave entrance is not the entrance to the 10,000 Demons Ridge, but Roar." Chapter 2009. Hearing the roars coming from the cave, Ningyu's expression changed as he said in a low voice, "Hell on earth." Following Ningyu's words, the expressions of all the martial artists in the area changed. "Not good, retreat. Leave quickly. If you stay any longer, you might be killed. We have to hurry." Pucci. In front of the 10,000 Demon Ridge, everyone was in a mess. Many martial artists retreated, scrambling to get away from the cave entrance. However, it was too late for them to retreat now. Crack! Crack! The originally incomparably sturdy cave entrance collapsed in an instant. Some martial artists who could not retreat in time were smashed by the huge rocks and screamed in pain. In just a short time, dozens of martial artists died under the huge rocks. Using the term hell on earth to describe the situation was probably the most appropriate. What is going on? The Dark Emperor's mouth was slightly agape. He was already extremely shocked. In fact, the Dark Emperor was a little scared. If not for Ningyu stopping him in time, he would have followed everyone into the cave. The Dark Emperor was not stupid. He could naturally tell that the real danger was still behind. Let's take a look first. Ningyu did not answer the Dark Emperor's words. Instead, he crossed his arms and looked at the void in the distance with interest. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Big move. Honestly speaking, Ningyu was a little surprised. According to his understanding, the 10,000 Demon Ridge was the most mysterious place in the immortal spirit realm. If it was so easy to enter, the 10,000 Demon Ridge would have been broken long ago. Why would they wait until now? The reason why Ningyu was surprised was because he was starting to see some clues. Those so-called experts were using these stupid people to carry out a blood sacrifice. Simply put, they were using these people as cannon fodder to break the true seal of the 10,000 Demon Ridge. Of course, since they were used as cannon fodder, it meant that the real plan had only just begun. Retreat. Just as he was thinking, Ningyu seemed to have discovered something terrifying. He grabbed the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu and retreated hurriedly. Seeing this, Zhao Rui and the human demon did not have the time to think and hurriedly followed behind Ningyu. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As expected, just as Ningyu and human demon took a few steps back, several giant beams of light shot out from where they had been standing. These light pillars were about as thick as a person's waist, and each of them contained extremely terrifying energy fluctuations. Swish, swish, swish at this moment. Several beams of light shot out from the distance. These pillars of light all had one thing in common. The energy fluctuations they contained were enough to make a cultivator with the power of the great Tao suffer a grievance. Looks like my guess was right. Ningyu sighed softly. At the same time, he became even more vigilant. Since it was purgatory on Earth, it should look like purgatory on Earth. What kind of purgatory was it to simply kill ordinary martial artists? If he wanted to trap and kill, then he would trap and kill all the martial artists who possessed the power of the great Tao. What are you doing? According to the agreement, you can't kill us. We agreed before that we would only trap and kill those martial artists with low cultivation. As for us, we will enter the myriad demons' ridge together. Some of the experts who didn't manage to escape in time became terrified. Under the huge formation, what kind of storm could these martial artists stir up? After all, no matter how strong they were, they only had the power of the great Tao. Under the encirclement of so many powerful beams of light, even if they resisted, they would only die. If you can contribute to breaking the seal, I will remember your kindness. A powerful voice suddenly came from the void. Then, the surrounding light pillars began to shrink, mercilessly slaughtering the martial artists who were trapped. Ah, my eyes can't see. You will die a horrible death. Why me? I have an 80-year-old mother and a child waiting to be fed. Oomph. If you trap and kill me today, my master will definitely avenge me in the future. All kinds of screams and screams were heard one after another. At this time, even Ningyu could not help but feel sad and indignant. To kill so many martial artists at once. To be honest, Ningyu's already serious face became even more serious. For the first time, he felt like he was a fish on the chopping block, a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. If not for the mysterious wooden stick on him, and the martial artists in the void around him were keeping each other in check, he would have died long ago. Once I enter the myriad demons' ridge, I have to think of a way to get rid of them. Ningyu secretly made up his mind. As long as he entered the myriad demons' ridge, he had to think of all ways to escape. Otherwise, he would definitely become someone's captive. If he was a captive, he would become a slave or a lackey, or he would be refined into a puppet and killed on the spot. Ningyu did not want to end up like that. Therefore, he secretly winked at the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu beside him, as if he was asking for their opinion. Now that things had come to this, Ningyu's idea was very simple. If the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were willing, he would respect their opinion and let them choose whether or not to enter the storage ring. After all, he was the target of the surrounding martial artists. It would not be appropriate to let the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu enter the storage ring. After all, even he was not very confident that he could escape the pursuit of so many powerful martial artists. Let's go together. We can look after each other. The Dark Emperor and Ning Lu naturally knew what Ningyu meant. However, they did not want to be separated from Ningyu. First of all, they were on very good terms with Ningyu. They had fought alongside him many times. Second of all, staying with Ningyu was probably the safest option. Rumble. In an instant, another terrifying rumble was heard. Then, a martial artist suddenly leaped out and hovered in midair. Absorb. The martial artist took out a golden gourd and yelled at the ground. Whoosh! Instantly, an extremely powerful devouring force swept out from the gourd and began its journey of devouring. Ningyu raised his eyebrows when he saw the golden gourd. To be honest, Ningyu was not interested in the martial artist with a golden gourd because he only had 5 powers of the Great Path. What surprised Ningyu was the golden gourd. According to Ningyu's observation, the level of the golden gourd was much higher than the demon god son's demon god gourd. Oh right, Ningyu suddenly thought of someone when he thought of the demon god gourd. He clearly remembered that the demon god restaurant's demon Tuo also came out to fight against him not long ago. At that time, he only cared about dealing with Divine Son Ge Wu of the Yin Ghost sect, Divine Son Yuanba of the Primordial Demon sect, Divine Son Yi Hong of the Sacred Divine Palace, and Divine Son Qiankun of the God Transformation sect. Chapter 2010. The Fiend Restaurant is worth paying attention to. Ningyu frowned slightly. For the first time, he began to pay attention to the Fiend Restaurant. After all, the fact that the demonic Buddha divine son was able to escape under the powerful perception of him, human demon, and the other showed that the demonic Buddha divine son had some skills. In view of the demonic Buddha divine son's magical performance, Ningyu began to think more highly of the fiend restaurant. While Ningyu was pondering, the screams, cries for help, and curses around him gradually weakened. Obviously, the Golden Gourd had played a crucial role. Almost all the warriors were swallowed by the terrifying, devouring power that shot out of the Golden Gourd. At this point, there were only a few people left in the entire area. Open. This situation lasted for about a few minutes. Finally, the warriors in midair suddenly threw the Golden Gourd to the ground. Rumble. The Golden Gourd turned into a meteor and drilled into the ground in the blink of an eye. Not long after, an earth-shattering noise suddenly came from the ground. Rumble. Soon after, the entire area began to shake. Get ready. Ningyu stared ahead and said in a deep voice, "Once the myriad demon's ridge is broken, we must go there immediately." There were many warriors who had the same idea as Ningyu. At the very least, no one wanted to be the last to enter the myriad demon's ridge. It was different now. Those who entered the myriad demon's ridge earlier were just cannon fodder. It made no difference whether they entered the myriad demon's ridge earlier or later. However, if they could enter the myriad demon's ridge earlier, their chances of obtaining opportunities would be greater. Everyone came here to obtain opportunities. If they could enter earlier, they must do so earlier. Crack! Fortunately, the Golden Gourd had swallowed too many warriors. The earth-shattering rumble only lasted for a few minutes before it completely disappeared. Then, a crisp cracking sound was heard, as if something had been broken. Go! Ningyu had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The moment the crack rang out, his figure flashed, and he was the first to rush out. Behind him, the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, the human demon, and Zhao Rui followed closely behind Ningyu without any hesitation. Go. You must follow Ningyu, but don't be the first to attack. Follow Ningyu. We can't let anyone else get the mysterious wooden stick. Whoever dares to snatch the mysterious wooden stick will be killed by me. Seeing Ningyu and the Dark Emperor rush into the myriad Devil Ridge, the souls of the big shots hidden in the void surged and began to issue orders. Their primary objective was to enter the depths of the myriad Demon Ridge to obtain fortuitous opportunities, not to chase after Ningyu. However, they did not want the mysterious wooden stick to fall into the hands of others. This was a typical mentality of, if I can't get it, you can't get it either. Hence, these bosses began to instruct their subordinates to keep a close eye on Ningyu's movements. Ningyu didn't know about these things. At this moment, he had already charged into the myriad Devil Ridge. Black. Pitch black. Abnormally pitch black. The moment he entered the myriad Demon Ridge, Ningyu felt as if he had entered an incomparably dark and bottomless pit. He kept falling down. Fortunately, this kind of falling did not last for too long. After a few minutes, it stopped. Where is this? Ningyu opened his eyes with difficulty and wanted to use Yuan Qi to illuminate his surroundings. However, he was shocked to discover that no matter how hard he tried, he could not illuminate his surroundings. Oh, right. Where are the Dark Emperor and the rest? Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly used his perception to contact the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. However, even though Ningyu used all his perception and soul power, he still could not find the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu. In other words, he had lost contact with the Dark Emperor and the rest. Ningyu's expression turned extremely grave. The human demon and Zhao Rui were still all right. The two of them had formidable strength. Ningyu was not particularly worried, but the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were different. First of all, the two of their strengths were not particularly formidable. And most importantly, the two of their identities were very special. One was the purple gold heaven swallowing hound, the sovereign of the heaven swallowing hound clan. The other was the world tree, one of the most terrifying things in the world. If their traces were discovered by someone with ulterior motives, the consequences would really be too ghastly to imagine. Better pass through this incomparably pitch-black road first before talking. Drawing a deep breath, Ningyu started advancing. No matter what, leaving this place first was always the right thing to do. At first, Ningyu thought that this incomparably pitch-black road was not considered too long. But as he advanced continuously, he discovered that he was wrong. Furthermore, he was ridiculously wrong. According to his estimation, since he started setting off until now, roughly an hour had already passed. An hour was not considered long, but it was not short either. At the very least, according to Ningyu's speed, an hour was sufficient for him to walk a very long distance. Ningyu frowned slightly, but ultimately still chose to continue advancing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Time was ticking away. As he continued advancing, Ningyu discovered that his surroundings had turned from pitch black to a faint light. Although this light was very weak, Ningyu believed that as long as he continued to move forward, he would definitely find something ahead. The situation did not last long. After another hour, Ningyu finally walked out of the incomparably pitch-black area. Origin Hall? As soon as he walked out of the pitch-black area, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape and his face was filled with astonishment. This was because he discovered that there was a huge palace towering not far ahead of him. Above the palace, there were 3 big words. Origin Hall. Ningyu looked around the Origin Hall and realized that there was only one hall within a radius of a few hundred miles. As for the rest of the area, not to mention things, not even a tree could be seen. Why is there a palace towering here? Am I seeing things? Ningyu slightly furrowed his brows, feeling a little puzzled. You're not seeing things. There's indeed a palace in front of you. As soon as Ningyu voiced his doubts, he heard a sneer in his ear. Upon hearing that, Ningyu turned to look. In front of him, there was a group of martial artists walking side by side towards him. It's you guys. Ningyu was very familiar with the few warriors in the lead. It could be said that he was extremely familiar with them. The one in the lead was the peerless godchild of the ancient demon sect, Gu Shensi, whose clone he had destroyed. As for the young man next to Gu Shensi, he was the demonic godchild of the Devil's Restaurant. Enemies were bound to meet. It was true that enemies were bound to meet. Not long ago, Ningyu was still thinking about the demonic godchild. He did not expect the demonic godchild to deliver himself to him. Yes, it's us. Chapter 2011. Demonic Buddha Divine Son. I didn't expect to meet you again. Ningyu didn't look at Gu Shensi. Instead, he looked at the demonic Buddha Divine Son. Ningyu knew very well. When he killed Gu Shensi's clone, he had also destroyed Gu Shensi's 4 great path powers. Therefore, even though Gu Shensi was arrogant toward him now, he was no threat to him at all. On the contrary, demonic Buddha Divine Son gave him an unfathomable feeling. Ningyu sensed a trace of the sky immortal law from the demonic Buddha Divine Son. To be precise, facing the demonic Buddha Divine Son, Ningyu had the illusion of facing the 5-fingered immortal. Does the demonic Buddha Divine Son have something to do with the 5-fingered immortal? Ningyu frowned. He always felt that the demonic Buddha Divine Son in front of him was not simple. He was very mysterious. Yeah, I thought you would die at the entrance of the Myriad Demon's Ridge last time. Who would have thought that I would see you here? The demonic Buddha Divine Son seemed to have no grudge against Ningyu. He sighed and said, "It's your fortune that you can come to the Origin Divine Palace. Well, you're lucky this time. I'll allow you to enter the Origin Divine Palace with me." Demonic Buddha Divine Son, who gave you the courage? Before Ningyu could answer the demonic Buddha Divine Son, Gu Shensi next to him scolded him. Noisy. The demonic Buddha Divine Son didn't look at Gu Shensi. Instead, he clenched his right fist and punched. Chi. The demonic Buddha Divine Son's punch seemed ordinary, but it became more and more powerful as it moved forward. The void trembled and a huge crack appeared in the space. In the blink of an eye, the demonic Buddha Divine Son's punch appeared in front of Gu Shensi's head. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. Then, Gu Shensi's head exploded on the spot. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. Hiss! The demonic Buddha, Divine Sun's sudden movement caused the expressions of the several cultivators behind Gu Shensi to change drastically. They couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. They clearly remembered how humble the demonic Buddha Divine Sun had been when he first met Gu Shensi. They were very puzzled as to why Divine Sun Mo would change his attitude in such a short time. Could be. Thinking of this, they shifted their gaze to Ningyu. It was undeniable that the person who made the demonic Buddha, Divine Sun, kill the ancient Divine Sun was probably Ningyu. Brother Ning, I wonder if you're satisfied? After killing Gu Shensi, the demonic Buddha, Divine Sun, turned to look at Ningyu and asked, "So." Although Ningyu was a little shocked by Divine Sun Mo actions, Ningyu did not let down his guard. At the very least, Ningyu would not have a conflict with Divine Sun Mo before he had a clear understanding of the specific situation in the Myriad Demon's Ridge. Ningyu's thinking was very simple. He wanted to learn about the situation in the entire Myriad Demon Ridge from Mo Divine Sun. It seems that Brother Ning is not very satisfied. Hearing Ningyu's words, the corners of Godchild Mo lips curled up slightly. After that, he stomped his feet on the ground and dashed out once more. Puff, 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 puff. This time, Divine Sun Mo moved very quickly. In just a few seconds, he killed all the cultivators who came with Gu Shensi. Clap, clap, clap. Ningyu clapped his hands and said, "Good courage. Now, can you tell me your real purpose?" As the saying goes, there must be something wrong with something abnormal. Since Divine Sun Mo had killed Gu Shensi, it meant that he had something important to discuss with him. As for what Divine Sun Mo wanted to discuss with him, Ningyu guessed that Divine Sun Mo wanted to enter the Origin Creation Palace with him. Sure enough, Divine Sun Mo first shot out a flame from his sleeve and burned the bodies of Gu Shensi and the rest of the cultivators. Then, he said faintly, "I want you to enter the Origin Creation Palace with me." Ningyu looked at Divine Sun Mo and did not speak, because Ningyu knew that Divine Sun Mo would continue to speak. "You must have just entered the Myriad Demon's Ridge, so you don't know what the Origin Creation Palace means." Divine Sun Mo explained, "In the Myriad Demon's Ridge, a palace like the Origin Creation Palace is a third-grade creation." Third-grade creation? Ningyu was shocked. There must be a second-grade creation, a first-grade creation, and even a special-grade creation. What is the third-grade creation? Ningyu tried to ask calmly. Divine Sun Mo looked at Ningyu and said, "To be precise, the Origin Creation Palace is the hall where celestial immortals live." Huh? Ningyu frowned and looked at Divine Sun Mo in confusion. In the past, because of the existence of the plane barrier, it was difficult for even a human immortal to appear in the celestial spirit realm, let alone a celestial immortal. Even if the plane barrier was completely loosened now, it was impossible for a real celestial immortal to descend. Since no celestial immortal could descend, how could there be a celestial immortal hall? Ha! You may not know what the Myriad Demon's Ridge means. Divine Sun smiled and continued. In ancient times, the Myriad Demon's Ridge was not only an ancient battlefield, but also a passageway to a high-level plane. Here, not to mention the Celestial Immortal Hall, even a Mystic Immortal Hall and the Golden Immortal Hall could appear. The Golden Immortal Hall. Ningyu's expression changed slightly. Above the Celestial Immortal was the Mystic Immortal, and above the Mystic Immortal was the Golden Immortal. Ningyu knew the ability of a Celestial Immortal. Celestial Immortals were especially strong, so one could imagine how powerful the Mystic Immortal and Golden Immortal above the Celestial Immortal were. How about it? Are you interested in entering the Origin Creation Palace with me? Divine Sun Mo was very satisfied with Ningyu's reaction. He said temptingly, "With our strength, let alone the Celestial Immortal Hall, even if we encounter the Mystic Immortal Hall or the Golden Immortal Hall in the future, we can still give it a try." Could the second-grade creation be the Mystic Immortal Hall? Ningyu asked, not answering the Divine Sun Mo question directly. Divine Sun Mo shook his head and continued to explain, the Mystic Immortal Hall and the Golden Immortal Hall have basically developed spiritual intelligence. It's very difficult for us to discover their existence alone. The so-called second-grade creation is the deeper power of the Great Path. At this point, Divine Son paused for a moment and then continued. As for the first-grade creation, I'm afraid we can only explore it when we reach the deepest place. Let's go to the Origin Creation Palace first. Ningyu seemed to be moved by Divine Son Tuo's words. He immediately stomped on the ground and rushed toward the Origin Creation Palace, which was not far away. Seeing Ningyu's back, the corners of Divine Son Tuo's mouth curled up unnaturally. Haha, as long as you enter the Origin Creation Palace with me, do you think you can escape from me? Divine Son Tuo smiled, and his expression gradually changed. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely discover that Divine Son Tuo was none other than the five-fingered deity who had a grudge against him before. A native expert of the immortal spirit realm should be able to refine an excellent elixir. The five-fingered deity's appearance changed again, and he became Divine Son Tuo. Chapter 2012. In front of the Origin Creation Palace, Ningyu stared at the magnificent palace in front of him in a daze. Although Ningyu knew that the Origin Creation Hall wasn't ordinary, he was still shocked by its grandeur when he looked at it from such a close distance. Mid-stage Heaven Immortal. Ningyu could conclude that the master of the Origin Creation Palace was at least a mid-stage Heaven Immortal. Origin Creation Immortal was at the peak of the mid-stage Heaven Immortal when he was alive. As if he had seen through Ningyu's doubts, God's Son Tuo explained. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Ningyu collected his thoughts and said calmly. Since God's Son Tuo had chosen to cooperate with him, it meant that he couldn't break the Origin Creation Palace with his own strength. Otherwise, how could God's Son Tuo have kept him here? According to Ningyu's guess, God's Son Tuo had originally chosen to cooperate with ancient God's Son. However, when God's Son Tuo saw him, he instantly changed his mind and decided to cooperate with him. After all, his strength was much higher than ancient God's Son's. Actually, it's nothing much. I just want you to attack the bronze gate of the Origin Creation Palace with me. As soon as he said that, God's Son Tuo clenched his fists and punched the bronze gate. Bang! A loud noise rang out, but the bronze gate didn't even shake. It still stood in the same place. However, God's Son Tuo wasn't discouraged. He continued to attack, clenching his fists and punching again and again. Perhaps one punch from God's Son Tuo couldn't shake the bronze gate, but what about 2? What about 3? What about 4? So, with God's Son Tuo's constant effort, the bronze gate finally shook a little. What the hell is he up to? Ningyu slightly furrowed his brows. He didn't believe that God's Son Tuo would be so kind. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Ningyu didn't just stand there. Instead, he clenched his right fist and attacked the bronze gate with God's Son Tuo. However, Ningyu wouldn't use his full strength like a fool. It was just a symbolic attack. The divine son of the demonic Buddha, no, the five-fingered immortal, had witnessed Ningyu's behavior. However, the five-fingered immortal's true strength was not because he needed Ningyu's help, but because he had other plans. Of course, Ningyu had no idea what the five-fingered immortal was plotting. Drip! Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. When the five-fingered immortal punched out for the 1000th time, cracks finally appeared on the bronze gate, and it began to shake violently. Gotcha! Another half an hour passed. Under the bombardment of the five-fingered immortal's 2,000 punches, the bronze gate collapsed. Go! The five-fingered immortal was the first to rush out as soon as the bronze door was broken. It was as if there was some kind of incredible creation inside the Origin Hall. Whoosh! Ningyu frowned slightly, but he still chose to follow them in. Roar! However, as soon as Ningyu stepped into the Origin Palace, he realized something was wrong. There was only one reason. A loud roar came from the depths of the Origin Palace. What kind of monster is that? Ningyu stared straight ahead with his eyes wide open. He was slightly shocked. The reason Ningyu was shocked was because he had never seen such a monster before. It had 8 legs and a pair of unusually thick tentacles. Its mouth was like a rabbit's with 3 flaps. What surprised Ningyu the most was the aura exuded by the monster. A heaven immortal. In other words, it was an existence that was infinitely close to becoming a heaven immortal. This was because Ningyu could sense the aura of 4 heaven immortal laws from the 8-legged monster. 4 heaven immortal laws. This kind of strength was indeed very troublesome for Ningyu. Ha ha ha. Ningyu kiddo, stay here and help me deal with this 8-legged monster. Once I take away all the creation in the Origin Palace, I will come back and deal with you slowly. The 5-fingered immortal threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, he disappeared in the blink of an eye, ignoring Ningyu's shock. It's him. Ningyu's face was gloomy. Although he had already guessed the identity of the demonic Ta Divine Son, he was still very unhappy when he found out that the demonic Ta Divine Son was the 5-fingered immortal. However, even though he was unhappy, Ningyu now had to face an 8-legged monster with 4 heaven immortal laws. Ningyu finally understood the 5-fingered immortal's plan. He wanted to use the 5-fingered immortal to stall the monster while he went to obtain the creation in the Origin Palace. After all, the 5-fingered immortal was much stronger than the ancient divine son, and he also had the mysterious wooden stick. The 5-fingered immortal is slightly afraid of the 8-legged monster with 4 heaven immortal laws. I can imagine that the 5-fingered immortal only has 5 heaven immortal laws at most. Ningyu thought to himself. Ningyu was not as worried after confirming the 5-fingered immortal's true strength. Given his current strength, even if he used the mysterious wooden stick, he could only fight an expert with 1 heaven immortal law. But don't forget, he still had a purple heaven fate stone with him. To be honest, even Ningyu did not know how powerful the purple fate stone was. After all, the purple fate stone was the strongest trump card of the peerless divine son of the Heaven Fortune sect. At the very least, after Ningyu devoured the purple fate stone, his combat strength would increase by 2 or 3 times. I'll use the mysterious wooden stick to deal with the 8-legged monster and test my true combat strength. Although Ningyu had a rough idea of his strength, he did not dare to make any promises without experiencing a real battle. In other words, he might only be able to deal with an expert with 1 heavenly immortal law, or he might even be able to deal with an expert with 2 heavenly immortal laws. Kill. While Ningyu was thinking, the 8-legged monster had already arrived in front of him. Ningyu's expression changed slightly. He immediately took out the mysterious wooden stick and met the monster head-on. Slash! It turned out that Ningyu had overestimated his own combat strength. The 8-legged monster had 4 heaven immortal laws. Even the 5-fingered immortal, who had 5 heaven immortal laws, would not dare to take its all-out attack head-on, let alone Ningyu. Without a doubt, Ningyu was knocked back by the attack and fell heavily to the ground. Ningyu's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Careless. Ningyu had indeed been careless this time. He should not have been defeated in 1 move with the mysterious wooden stick, the red fiend sword, and the heaven fate stone. However, in order to test his true combat strength, he had been defeated in 1 move. Fortunately, Ningyu had used the mysterious wooden stick to cushion the impact at the crucial moment. Otherwise, the 8-legged monster's attack would have been enough to make him suffer. As Ningyu was thinking about devouring the Heaven Fate Stone to deal with the 8-legged monster, he suddenly heard a soft exclamation. Ningyu's heart stirred, and he hurriedly looked at the 8-legged demonic beast. When Ningyu was looking at the 8-legged monster, the monster was also looking at Ningyu. The two of them looked at each other. Ningyu was a little confused. This was because he did not see any killing intent in the 8-legged monster's eyes. Chapter 2013. You seem to be different from that old man just now. The 8-legged demonic beast stared at Ningyu for a while and then said. Ningyu did not say anything, because until now, Ningyu was not sure if the eight-legged demonic beast was really not hostile towards him. After all, Ningyu was temporarily unable to fight against an expert like the eight-legged demonic beast who possessed 4 heavenly immortals' laws. Take 3 of my moves, and I'll spare your life. Fortunately, the eight-legged demonic beast did not make Ningyu wait for too long. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the eight-legged demonic beast did not wait for Ningyu to react and immediately dashed out. The eight-legged demonic beast was so fast that Ningyu did not even have time to react before it arrived in front of him. Left with no other choice, Ningyu could only choose to fight head-on. After all, there was still a chance of survival if he fought head-on, but running away would only lead to death. Bang! Neither Ningyu nor the eight-legged demonic beast were slow, and they exchanged blows in the blink of an eye. A crisp sound was heard, and then Ningyu was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Fighting against an eight-legged demonic beast who possessed 4 heavenly immortals' laws, Ningyu could be considered lucky that he was not killed in the first move. Not bad, not bad. You actually blocked my first move. Next, I'll have to increase my strength. The eight-legged demonic beast was obviously very satisfied that Ningyu blocked its first move. However, it still instantly unleashed its second move. Swoosh! The second move that the eight-legged demonic beast unleashed seemed ordinary, but in fact, it contained extremely terrifying destructive power. It could be said that if the eight-legged demonic beast's first move could kill an expert with 1 heavenly immortal's law, then its second move could easily kill an expert with 2 heavenly immortal's laws. The power of the attack had doubled. Damn it! Facing the eight-legged demonic beast that was charging at him, Ningyu could not help but curse in his heart. However, despite cursing, Ningyu did not dare to be careless. Red demon sword, mysterious wooden stick. At this moment, Ningyu could not care less. He raised his head and roared, brandishing the red demon sword and the mysterious wooden rod. For the second test of the eight-legged demonic beast, Ningyu chose to use his full strength. Bang! Bang! In the blink of an eye, the eight-legged demonic beast unleashed 2 attacks. One collided with the red fiend sword, while the other collided with a mysterious wooden staff. 2 consecutive sounds rang out, and Ningyu was once again sent flying like a kite with its string cut. However, compared to the last time, the distance Ningyu flew was significantly shorter this time. Of course, this was not the most important thing. Most importantly, not only was Ningyu sent flying, but the eight-legged demonic beast was also pushed back a distance. Although the distance that the eight-legged demonic beast had retreated was very short, it was still very advantageous for Ningyu. Ha ha ha, good lad, I was right about you. The eight-legged demonic beast was not angry that Ningyu had pushed it back. Instead, it threw its head back and laughed wildly. If you can withstand my third move, I'll give you an opportunity. Give me an opportunity? Ningyu frowned slightly. To be honest, Ningyu was not thinking about any opportunity. He only had one thought in his mind, which was to withstand 3 moves from the eight-legged demonic beast and hope that the beast would not go back on its words and let him go. Now that the eight-legged demonic beast was saying that it would give him an opportunity, how could he not be confused and shocked? The prerequisite is that you have to withstand my third move. The eight-legged demonic beast's expression turned serious. It stomped on the ground with its 8 legs and dashed forward. Whoosh! Due to its extreme speed, the pair of antennae on top of the demonic beast's head made a hissing sound as they rubbed against the air. Following the hissing sound, the eight-legged demonic beast had already arrived in front of Ningyu. Take this. The eight-legged demonic beast raised its head and yelled. It used the pair of antennae on top of its head to stab at Ningyu. Although the eight-legged demonic beast did not use the heavenly immortal law in this move, the power of this move was much stronger than the previous 2 moves. Divine Fortune Stone. At the critical moment, Ningyu had no time to think. He immediately swallowed the purple Divine Fortune Stone. Buzz! As soon as the purple Divine Fortune Stone entered his stomach, Ningyu's aura increased rapidly. Ningyu's mouth opened slightly. His face was filled with disbelief. The reason why Ning Yu had such an expression was because there were four forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone. One had to know that the forces of great Tao were extremely rare. Any of the forces of great Tao could become the focus of everyone's competition. The forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone were extremely pure. It was the kind of great Tao that could be devoured at any time. How could Ningyu not be dumbfounded under the circumstances? The reason being that he originally had 6 forces of great Tao. Now that he had devoured the forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone, the number of forces of great Tao in his body had increased to 10. Of course, the forces of great Tao in Ningyu's body could be compressed and reassembled at any time. Although he had 10 forces of great Tao in his body, he was only displaying one of them. Let me test your antennae. Almost instantly, Ningyu devoured the 4 forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone. With confidence, he chose to face the 8-legged demonic beast head-on. Clenching his right hand into a fist, the forces of great Tao wrapped around it as Ningyu lashed out a punch. Ding! Crack! A pleasant voice was first heard, followed by an extremely crisp voice that resounded throughout the area. Kami. At that instant, the 8-legged demonic beast was finally startled. Its mouth was slightly open, and its face was filled with astonishment. Because of this move, the 8-legged demonic beast did not gain the upper hand. Instead, it was at a disadvantage. Ningyu looked at his fist in disbelief. At that moment, Ningyu could basically determine that the 4 forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone were definitely the forces of great Tao that had experienced the heavenly immortal tribulation. To be precise, the 4 forces of great Tao inside the purple divine fortune stone were extremely close to the heavenly immortal laws. They were only a step away from the real heavenly immortal laws. Otherwise, how could his fist, which contained the forces of great Tao, withstand the powerful attack of the 8-legged demonic beast? I'm willing to bet, so I'm willing to lose. What kind of transformation are you going to give me? With strength, Ningyu's confidence instantly increased by several folds. After all, even if the 8-legged demonic beast wanted to kill him now, it would be very difficult. His overall strength was enough to fight against an expert with 3 heavenly immortal laws. He could easily escape from an expert with 4 heavenly immortal laws. Ha ha ha, kid, you haven't forgotten about that. The 8-legged demonic beast raised its head and laughed. It then stared at Ningyu and said solemnly, "The Origin Creation Hall is the palace of the Origin Creation Immortal. Before the Origin Creation Immortal left, he told me that anyone who can withstand 3 moves from me will be able to obtain his inheritance." Ningyu's face darkened. What kind of explanation was that? Chapter 2014. You've blocked 3 of my moves. The inheritance of the Origin Creation Immortal should belong to you. As he spoke, the 8-legged demon's body flickered and tore through the void, disappearing from Ningyu's sight. Ningyu stood in the same spot. He did not let his guard down, even though the 8-legged demon had disappeared. After all, the 8-legged demon's behavior was too strange. Even now, Ningyu could not completely trust him. Drip. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. During this time, Ningyu did not do anything else. He merely unleashed his senses and paid close attention to his surroundings. Not only did Ningyu have to guard against the 8-legged demon's betrayal, but he also had to guard against the 5-fingered immortal's sneak attack. After all, the 5-fingered immortal had entered the Origin Creation Hall a long time ago. It was possible that he had already obtained the inheritance in the Origin Creation Hall. The 5-fingered immortal had 5 heavenly immortal laws, while the 8-legged demon had 4 heavenly immortal laws. Simply speaking, Ningyu felt that it was better to be careful of the 5-fingered immortal. After all, the 5-fingered immortal might be slightly stronger than the 8-legged demon. Swish! As Ningyu was pondering this, a shadow suddenly dashed over from afar. The eight-legged demonic beast. This figure was none other than the eight-legged demonic beast. Here you go. This is the inheritance left behind by the origin creation immortal. The eight-legged demon did not beat around the bush with Ningyu. Instead, he tossed a storage bag to Ningyu. Slap! Ningyu took out the red demon sword and placed the storage bag on top of it. Ningyu was no fool. He would not foolishly use his hand to catch the storage bag that the eight-legged demon had tossed over. If there was something wrong with the storage bag, wouldn't he have to bear the consequences? Therefore, it was always better to be careful. The eight-legged demon only twitched its mouth when it saw Ningyu's actions. This was because the eight-legged demonic beast knew that it would not be much stronger than Ningyu if it was Ningyu. Hiss! Ningyu flicked his wrist and sliced open the storage bag with the red demon sword. However, as soon as Ningyu split open the storage bag, he gasped in shock. The reason was none other than the fact that the items in the storage pouch were far too valuable. So valuable that even Ningyu could not help but be moved. Ningyu pointed at the palm-sized flying sword on the red demon sword. He opened his mouth slightly and said to the eight-legged demonic beast, "According to my estimation, this flying sword is at least a heavenly treasure, or even a mysterious treasure." In fact, Ningyu couldn't be blamed for being surprised. It was because the aura emitted by the small flying sword that the eight-legged monster beast had taken out was too terrifying. It was even stronger than the mysterious wooden stick. One had to know that the mysterious wooden stick was most likely a mysterious treasure. The mini flying sword's aura was even more terrifying than the mysterious wooden stick. From this, it could be seen that the mini flying sword was at least a profound treasure. It might even be a gold treasure of an even higher level. You're right. The mini flying sword is indeed a mysterious treasure. It can be ranked above average among mysterious treasures. The eight-legged demon nodded and said, "Actually, the opportunity that Immortal Ziyuan gave you was not this mini flying sword." "It's not a mini flying sword?" Ningyu was a little confused. The mini flying sword was a real mysterious treasure, and it could be ranked above average among mysterious treasures. What kind of fortune could be better than his? Ningyu could not think of anything. Swoosh! Suddenly, the mini flying sword flew out from the red devil sword. Under Ningyu's astonished gaze, it entered the body of the mysterious wooden stick. What's going on? The sudden change made Ningyu's expression change drastically. The mysterious wooden stick was his trump card. Now that the mini flying sword had entered the mysterious wooden stick, who knew if it would be beneficial or detrimental? F*CK. At this moment, Ningyu suddenly shouted and couldn't help but curse. He saw that cracks had appeared on the originally extremely hard mysterious wooden stick, and the cracks were getting bigger and bigger. This was something that Ningyu did not expect. That was because the mysterious wooden stick could easily break a heavenly treasure. How could Ningyu have expected this to happen to it? Don't be nervous. The mini flying sword is helping you. The eight-legged demon seemed to have seen the shock and nervousness in Ningyu's eyes, so it shook its huge body slightly and said calmly, "Helping me?" Because he pointed at his own nose, he was puzzled. The mini flying sword had almost broken the mysterious wooden stick, so how could it be helping him? Crack, crack, crack. Before Ningyu could recover from his shock, several crisp cracking sounds came from the mysterious wooden stick again. It fell off. The outermost layer of the mysterious wooden stick fell off and fell to the ground. Gulp! Looking at the mysterious wooden stick's current appearance, Ningyu couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. At this time, the mysterious wooden stick, no, it should be called the mysterious golden stick. After the outermost layer of the mysterious wooden stick fell off, its color turned golden. Ningyu knew very well that the mysterious wooden stick was not made of wood. Perhaps the mysterious wooden stick was its original appearance. Why hasn't the mini flying sword come out yet? Ningyu was puzzled because he found that the mini flying sword was still in the mysterious wooden stick. Don't worry, your creation is not over yet. The eight-legged demon rolled its eyes and reminded Ningyu not to panic. Ningyu had no choice but to choose to wait quietly. In the next period of time, the mysterious wooden stick kept changing, and it would complete a transformation almost every few minutes. At this point, Ningyu also found out why the mysterious wooden stick was changing. The reason was simple. The mini-plane was burning itself for the mysterious wooden stick to swallow and refine. Mystic treasure. Ningyu's eyes stared at the mysterious wooden stick's transformation, and he was extremely shocked. Ningyu originally thought that he knew a lot about the mysterious wooden stick, but the current situation made him realize that he knew nothing about it. The mysterious wooden stick was not in its peak state previously, and the power it could exert was not the strongest. The mini-flying sword's sacrifice made the mysterious wooden stick gradually reveal its fangs, showing the power it should have. Crack! About 5 minutes later, the mini-flying sword completely disappeared, and in its place was the mysterious wooden stick, which had turned dark gold. On the top of the mysterious wooden stick, there were 4 big words engraved. Essence Creation Divine Stick. The mysterious wooden stick's original name was Essence Creation Divine Stick. I see. At this moment, Ningyu suddenly understood. No wonder the 8-legged demon would give him an opportunity. It turned out that the mysterious wooden stick in his hand was Essence Creation Immortal's item. However, Ningyu was a little puzzled. Why would Essence Creation Immortal's Essence Creation Divine Stick fall into the hands of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple? One must know that Ningyu had obtained the Essence Creation Divine Stick from his mother, Mu Yinshan. Mu Yinshan had once said that the Essence Creation Divine Stick belonged to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. What? A Peak Xian Immortal Dharma treasure? Suddenly, an exclamation entered Ningyu's ears. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.